A service of KIBMradio.com, the Internet's home for an all-old-time radio. A service of KIBMradio.com, the Internet's home for an all-old-time radio.
This is the NBC Theater. From the NBC Theater in Hollywood, a radio first, an hour-length dramatization of one of the major works of Thomas Wolfe, You Can't Go Home Again, prepared for radio by Clarence A. Ross of NBC. At intermission, a recorded commentary on the writings of Thomas Wolfe by the distinguished editor of the Saturday Review of Literature, Mr. Norman Cousins. To the works of Thomas Wolfe, the adjectives formless, undisciplined, overwritten have all been applied at various times. In his novels, you find not so much a story as a great and detailed impression of people, times, and places. Wolfe recorded everything. In our presentation of You Can't Go Home Again, we do not propose to try to bring you the entire book, nor any connected plot. Rather, we wish to bring you as fully as possible the real flavor of certain major portions of the book. Those portions examining several of the components of a man's life, to which, as Wolfe and his hero discover, you can't go home again.
When George Webber turned at last to examine everything he knew, everything he had learned, he found that it all led to a decision which was the hardest he ever had to make. For 9 years, since the publication of his first book, his dearest friend had been his editor, Fox Edwards, his dearest friend and the father of his spirit. And now he knew that the time had come to leave Fox Edwards. And George sat down and wrote to Fox. He wrote many things, but mostly a record of what he had looked for and what he had found. And what he had found was that you can't go home again. You can't go home to your family, home to your childhood, home to romantic love, home to a young man's dreams of glory and of fame, home to exile in some foreign land, home to the old forms and systems of things which once seemed everlasting, home to the escapes of time and memory. And so he wrote.
You may think it a little premature of me to start summing up my life at the age of 37. But believe me, it is not egotism that prompts me to do this. My whole experience swings round, as though through a predestined orbit, to you, to this moment, to this parting. So bear with me, and then farewell.
You can't go back to your family, back home to your childhood.
Forgotten memories return to me, old songs, old faces. I wandered in many lands and cities, and yet I felt the magnetic pull of home. And why? Why, if it did not matter? And if this little town and the immortal hills around it were not the only home I had on earth?
Your Aunt Maud died last night. Stop. Funeral Thursday in Libya Hill. Stop. Come home if you can.
Mayor Kennedy, it's been a long time.
It has, boy. How are you? Sorry to hear about your aunt. She was a good woman, George. A good woman.
Yes.
Oh, you won't know Libya Hill. No, sir. Things are booming down our way. Property on Market Street going for $5,000 a front foot.
Market Street?
The buildings are all dumps, of course. Folks are paying for the land. Pretty good for Libya Hill, eh?
It was a nice, sleepy little mountain town. I was hoping it would be the same.
What are you saying, boy? Why, Libya Hill's going to be the largest and most beautiful city in the state. You mark my words.
Something had happened to the past. What was it? Now in the train, another face, another voice. Judge Rumford Bland of Libya Hill. Old and evil and corrupt. Dyed and stained with evil through his blood, his bone, his flesh. Blind, corrupt, evil old man.
Good evening, Weber.
Oh, Judge Bland.
Sit down, son. Let the dead bury their dead. Come, sit among the blind.
There are a lot of people on the train from home, Judge. Mayor Kennedy.
Yes, I know. As eminent a set of stinking rats as were ever gathered together within the narrow confines of a Pullman car. How are the folks?
Why, Aunt Ma's dead. I'm going home to the funeral.
Dead, is she? So you're going down to bury her. And do you think you can go home again?
Well, how do you mean?
Answer me. Do you think you can?
Why, yes, Look here, Judge Bland, I haven't done anything.
You sure? The guilty fleeth where no man pursueth, son. I heard you, Kennedy, and you, Parson Flack, and Banker Riggs. Remember when Bland did this and that? Remember what? Remember, Banker Riggs, when you established the fastest-growing bank in the state and weren't too particular what it grew on? Remember, Parson, how you've run the town all these years? A very nice little private business, isn't it, Parson? Remember. George, boy, I've been a giddy fellow. I've spent my talents in riotous living. All the forms of hellishness that saintly fellows who go to prayer meeting know nothing of. Oh, I'll warm my old age with the memories of my own sinfulness. But I also remember other things. And maybe in my humble sphere, I, too, have served a purpose of being the wild oat of the more worthy citizens. Goodbye, son. Don't forget I tried to warn you.
George, how are you, boy? Put it there.
Oh, Randy! And Margaret. How are you, Margaret?
Well, George, you haven't changed a bit since you and Randy were boys together. A little stouter, but I reckon I'd have known you.
Oh, George, it's good to see you, boy. But you'll get it now.
Get what?
Oh, all hours from daybreak to 3 in the morning. No holds barred. They'll be waiting for you.
Who?
Who? Why, every dang mountain grill of a real estate agent in town. Horseface Barnes, Skin 'em Alive Judson, the winner orphan band from Arkansas. Why, they'll be drawing lots by now to see which one gets your shirt and which one takes the pants and BVDs.
The very streets that he had known so well and remembered through the years, in their early afternoon emptiness and drowsy lethargy, were foaming with life. And there was a look on people's faces, a nervous, excited glitter, a secret and unholy glee.
Listen, George, you're going to be a $2,000 a year school teacher all your life.
There are worse things than being a school teacher, Sam. You really get that $2,000. It's not real estate money, you know. You can buy a ham sandwich with it.
You're right, George. George, that house of your uncle's on Locust Street. Would he consider an offer? Would he take $100,000?
Well, can you get it for him?
Within 24 hours. Tell you what I'll do. You persuade him to sell, and I'll split the commission with you. I'll give you $5,000.
It's a go, Sam. But, could you let me have 50 cents on account?
Oh, make him sell, boy. What's the use of keeping it? Thousands in every deal. Never heard of anything like it. Lord, what are we coming to?
What were they coming to? The better life, of course. It was all they talked about. They leveled hills and bored through mountains, making tunnels that leapt out on the other side into wilderness. They flung away the earnings of a lifetime, ruined their city, themselves, their children, and their children's children.
So you're written a book, Mr. Weber. What's it about?
Why, I hardly know. It's a novel.
Oh, anything to do with this part of the country?
Well, it's about the South, all right, but it could take...
Local boy writes romance of the old South. Mr. Weber, you've been to Europe several times. How does this section of the country compare with other places you've seen?
Why, well, good. I mean, fine. You see, that is...
Local paradise tops everything. Say, do you ever think of coming back here to live?
Why, well, I have thought of it, but you see...
Famous author will settle and build here. Mr. Weber, do you intend to write another book?
Well, I hope so. In fact,
Now, don't be so bashful, Mr. Weber. Say, you know what you ought to do? You ought to come back here and do for this section what Longfellow did for New England.
Author plans native saga. I have in mind a trilogy tracing the steady progress of Libya Hill from its foundings right down to its present international prominence and the proud place it occupies as the gem city of the hills.
The fools!
Flowers look beautiful on the grave. I never did think you'd be so sentimental, George.
Well, Margaret, I just thought I'd come up here and say goodbye to the place. Margaret, what's going to happen to this town, to all these people?
Why, nothing, George. What can happen?
There's a hunger for death here. I can feel it. This boom, this lunacy, these paper profits. What are they looking for?
Oh, I'm not clever like you are, George. I don't know.
I remember this town the way it used to be. At night, the desolation, the monotony. The hope that somewhere there was a secret, rich, and more abundant life. They never found it, the famished men. The famished men wandering in the dark.
I'll vow, George, I don't know what you're saying. Never heard of any man wandering around in the dark in this town, unless maybe Judge Bland.
Judge Bland. Perhaps he's the key to the whole thing. Perhaps he looked for something better, a joy and a beauty that he never found. Perhaps he's lived his life in shame because there was no work for the goodness in him, no place here for curiosity and intelligence and hope. He said something to me on the train coming down. He said, "You can't go home again." I wonder if that was what he meant.
Down by the river's edge, George Weber heard the bell, the whistle, and the pounding wheel of the night express, with its triumphant promise of morning, new lands, and a shining city. And something in his heart was saying, like a whisper, speaking of flight, soon, soon, soon.
The town of my childhood was lost. Nothing to remind one of the liquid leather shuffle in the quiet streets at noon when the men came home to lunch, and of laughter and low voices in the leafy rustle of the night. All this was lost.
You can't go home again. You can't go home to your family, home to your childhood, home to romantic love, home to...
Love is enough though the world be waning, wrote William Morris. Perhaps it was true for him, yet I doubt it. As for myself, I did not find it so. Even while I was most securely caught up and enclosed within the inner circle of love's bondage, I began to discover a larger world outside. It came upon me little by little, almost without my knowing it. I should never have tried to come back to her. She was older than I, married, living with her husband and her grown daughter. But I loved her, don't you see?
Oh,
Oh, George, isn't it awful? Have you come to where it says, Miss Esther Jack, whose work has won her recognition as one of the foremost designers in the modern theater? Oh, George, isn't it awful?
You're reveling in it, and you know it. The excellent fooling that is implicit in these droll settings. Elvishly sly, mocking, and, need we add, expert.
Darling, you should see your face.
Elvishly sly. Now, isn't that too delightful? Why, that quaint little jerk. These droll settings. Oh, I am swooning, sweetheart. Pass the garlic.
I didn't write it. I can't help it if they write things like that. You know these theater critics.
Well, do I get fed, or must I starve here while you wallow in this bilge?
I am not wallowing.
You're laughing it up. You're gloating over it. Woman, do you know I haven't had a bite to eat all day? Now, do I get fed or not? Will you put your excellent fooling in a steak?
Yes. Is that what you'd like? A steak?
Will you make me one of your droll and expert sauces?
Oh, yes. Whatever you like, I will make it for you.
Why will you make it for me?
Because I love you. Because I want to feed you and to love you.
Will it be good?
It will be so good that there will be no words to tell its goodness. It will be so good because I can do everything better than any other woman you will ever know. And because I love you with all my heart and soul.
Then this will be such food as no one ever ate before.
Oh, yes, George. Yes, darling, it will be. George, you do love me, don't you, George?
Yes, of course I do.
Will you never leave me?
Don't ask me things like that. I've told you I love you. I've also told you I've got to be free to live my life and do my work. You know that, don't you?
Yes, darling, I know.
You hear it, but do you know it?
George, you will keep loving me forever, won't you?
Forever?
Please, George, I need to know. Will you keep on loving me forever?
Look out there.
Where?
Across the street in that warehouse window.
Was he there again? George, why does he sit like that? Never changing his expression, never moving. Who is he, George? What is he?
He's forever. There's your forever. Why does the man sit in the window, his eyes calm and sorrowful, his face like the face of darkness and of time, as though it would speak with the voice of the whole earth, with a tired and sorrowful joy, with the knowledge of all tongues? O brother, son, and comrade, we who have savored the tumult, the pain, and the frenzy, and now sit quietly by our windows, we call upon you to take heart, for we can swear to you that these things pass. But some things will never change. Lean down your ear upon the earth and listen. The voice of forest water, a woman's laughter in the dark, the cricketing stitch of midday in hot meadows. These things will never change. The glitter of sunlight on roughened water, the innocence of morning, the thorn of spring, the sharp and tongueless cry. These things will always be the same. Pain and death will also always be the same. But under the pavements trembling like a pulse, under the buildings trembling like a cry, under the hoof of the beast, there will be something growing like a flower, something bursting from the earth again, forever deathless, faithful, coming into life again like April. I won't do it, Esther. There's no use in trying to mix our two worlds. They're different, that's all.
But it's going to be such a nice party, dear. Why, some of the most wonderful people in town will be there.
Oh, please, George.
I don't care who's going to be there. I've got work to do.
Honestly, George, once you get an idea in your head, you hang on to it in the face of reason itself. Now, really, how can you be a writer and take no part in life? Listen to me, George. I don't ask much of you, but come to my party just to please me.
All right, Esther. All right. I'll go. I had thought love was the whole universe. And then I saw certain things in life. The great, the rich, the fortunate ones of earth, taking the very best for granted as their right. And the submerged and forgotten helots down below.
Go on, get out of here, you panhandling bum. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. Go on, get yourself a job like a man.
What's wrong, John?
These bums, always hanging around. They got no right to bother the kind of people we got in this building.
Yeah. It looks like a busy night tonight.
Yeah, you better get yourself over to the front elevator. It goes off in 5 minutes, and Mrs. Jack's party will be starting. If I've carried up one package tonight, I've carried up 50. Now, that'll be the Jack's cook buzzing again. Them and their big parties. I'm coming.
Hey, John, if you want a date after work tonight, I got it all fixed up with a couple of hot blondes. How about it, huh?
You get out of here, Herbert. Get in the elevator and get your mind off women. If you ever had a blonde, you wouldn't know what to do with her. I'm coming, will you?
Good Lord, what did I come here for?
George, darling, you're here. I'm so glad. I was so afraid you were going to fail me.
Esther, I'm leaving. What's this mob got to do with me?
George, you can't. Not after you promised. Oh, darling, I'm sure you're going to have a good time. I planned everything especially for you. Go and have a good time, darling. I want you to meet everybody. Oh, Jake, how good to see you. I thought you were still here.
Beautiful women with satiny backs, people laughing and chattering, white and black and gold, and power and wealth and loveliness. The privileged of the earth, taking the very best for granted as their right, a law ordained of nature, that they should be life's favorite children. These people were an honored group. They had stolen no man's ox or ass. They espoused all the right causes, if only the issue were fashionable. It was all suddenly clear to George Webber what he had meant when he spoke to Esther about her world and his own. He saw that the world of fashion and of privilege was the deadliest enemy of art and truth, that he could never sing America if he entered this special corner of mankind, that he must leave Esther or lose himself.
Darling, you look so strange. Are you all right?
Who said I wasn't all right? Why shouldn't I be all right?
The party was almost over when the fire broke out. Excitedly, the dwellers in the great and fashionable building filed down into the street, watched the firemen fight and win against the flames, and filed back in again. No one was injured.
I began to be conscious of the submerged and forgotten helots down below, who with their toil and sweat and blood and suffering unutterable supported and nourished the mighty princelings at the top.
No one was injured except that George Webber, standing in a nearby drugstore, heard a reporter phoning in his findings to the city desk.
Nah, just the two of them. Both elevator men. John N. Borg, age 64, of Jamaica, Queens, and Herbert Anderson, age 25, Southern Boulevard, the Bronx. Yeah, they was both on the elevators trying to get the tenants out, and somebody pulled the wrong switch and trapped them between floors. Nah, nobody knows. Management's keeping it quiet. Want me to stick around, Mac? Okay.
Darling, come sit here beside me. George, wasn't it all strange? The party and the fire?
Yes.
Well, what does it matter? Everything's over. There's nothing left but us. Do you know, I think about you all the time. Do you know, I once tried to write a story about you. Did I ever tell you?
No, tell me.
Oh, I was ready to burst with it. But when I tried to write it, all I could say was, long, long into the night I lay, thinking of you. I couldn't write any more. But that one line keeps haunting me. Because that's the story. Oh, dearest, that's the whole story. In the whole world, there's nothing more. Love is enough.
Tomorrow I will tell her. Not tonight, but tomorrow. And it would be better if I did not tell her that I love her still, that I will always love her. If she knew that, she would never understand. Never understand tomorrow that a tide was running in the hearts of men. And I must go.
Love was not enough. There had to be a larger world. And to reach it, there had to be honesty, sincerity, and no compromise with truth.
From Hollywood, the NBC Theater is bringing you a radio version of You Can't Go Home Again by Thomas Wolfe, featuring Marvin Miller as George Weber. If you're interested in supplementing your enjoyment of these NBC Theater productions with home study under college supervision, be sure to listen to the announcement at the close of this program. And now, our intermission commentator, Mr. Norman Cousins.
If you were to go around the colleges of America and talk to young people, and if you were to ask them the name of their favorite novelist, I suppose that the one name standing out far ahead of all the rest would be the name of Thomas Wolfe. I have a hunch that you would get the same answer if you spoke to young writers. There's a good reason why this is so. A good reason why Thomas Wolfe today is fast becoming a legend among young people. Why he should enjoy the deep affection and, in many cases, the worship of young writers. These reasons are made dramatically clear in You Can't Go Home Again, the last of Thomas Wolfe's major novels. There is deep honesty here, a deep sense of purpose, a luminous integrity, an inspiring sensitivity, and a magnificent awareness of the endless combinations of colors in life. For Wolfe had an insatiable hunger to learn about life, about people, and about the problems of people. He wasn't afraid to think in print. He broke sharply from the literary tradition of the Hemingways with their clipped, staccato style of writing and thinking. Wolfe could address himself to the thoughts and feelings and hopes in people, to the struggles that went on inside them, to their search for values. In what is perhaps one of the most meaningful and magnificent passages in contemporary literature, he could write in You Can't Go Home Again, "It is for now, and for us the living, that we must speak, and speak the truth, as much of it as we can see and know. With the courage of the truth within us, we shall meet the enemy as they come to us, and they shall be ours. And if, once having conquered them, new enemies approach, we shall meet them from that point, from there proceed." In the affirmation of that fact is man's religion and his living faith. These values of Thomas Wolfe can give inspiration to an ideal-hungry younger generation. The shiny, surfacey enthusiasm of the 20s and the bitter disillusion of the 30s gave way to the search for purpose and ideals in the 1940s. Thomas Wolfe's books were published during the 30s, but they anticipated the needs of a generation that came of age during World War II. As a novelist, Thomas Wolfe was almost an encyclopedia of what not to do. In his books, what seemed to start out as the main trunk of a story would go rambling off into branches and yet other branches until the trunk was all but lost. There was almost no story structure or novel continuity. Yet, if we think of Wolfe, not as a novelist, but as an autobiographical dramatist, as an interpreter of inner conflict in man, as a sensitive observer of a fast-changing world, then his true claim to literary greatness will be firm and unchallenged.
Thank you, Mr. Cousins. Our radio version of You Can't Go Home Again will continue from Hollywood after a brief pause for station identification.
You can't go home again. You can't go home to your family, home to your childhood, home to romantic love, home to a young man's dreams of glory and of fame, home to...
I was enamored of that fair Medusa, Fame. All the guises of Fame's loveliness I had dreamed of since my early youth. I had wanted to be loved and to be famous. I had known love, but Fame was still elusive. And in the end, I had to have her.
George Webber's novel, Home to Our Mountains, was published in November 1929. In writing it, he had drawn upon the experience of his own life. He had written about his hometown, about his family, and the people he had known. That was what caused the trouble. He tried to tell the truth about the little segment of life that he had seen and known. His book took the hide off the whole community, and as a result, it also took the hide off George Webber.
Hello, Margaret. Have you seen George's book?
Why, yes, Harley. George sent me an advance copy, and he signed it for me, too, but I haven't read it. Have you seen it?
Yes, we get a review copy at the newspaper office.
Well, what do you think of it? I mean, well, now, you've been to college, Harley. You're educated. You ought to be a judge about these things. What I mean is, do you think it's good?
Margaret, it's pretty rough.
Rough? What does that mean?
Oh, no. Don't get excited. There's no use getting excited about it, but there are some pretty rough things in it. It's pretty frank, Margaret.
About me? About me, Harley?
Not only about you, Margaret, about everybody in town. Some of it's going to be pretty hard to take.
Well, I'm sure I don't know what he's got to say about me. Well, now, if anyone feels that way, well,
And in the end, I had to have her.
George Webber's novel, Home to Our Mountains, was published in November 1929. In writing it, he had drawn upon the experience of his own life. He had written about his hometown, about his family, and the people he had known. That was what caused the trouble. He tried to tell the truth about the little segment of life that he had seen and known. His book took the hide off the whole community, and as a result, it also took the hide off George Webber.
Hello, Margaret. Have you seen George's book?
Why, yes, Harley. George sent me an advance copy, and he signed it for me, too, but I haven't read it. Have you seen it?
Yes, we get a review copy at the newspaper office.
Well, what do you think of it? I mean, well, now, you've been to college, Harley. You're educated. You ought to be a judge about these things. What I mean is, do you think it's good?
Margaret, it's pretty rough.
Rough? What does that mean?
Oh, no. Don't get excited. There's no use getting excited about it, but there are some pretty rough things in it. It's pretty frank, Margaret.
About me? About me, Harley?
Not only about you, Margaret, about everybody in town. Some of it's going to be pretty hard to take.
Well, now, I'm sure I don't know what he's got to say about me. Well, now, if anyone feels that way, well, I certainly haven't got anything to be ashamed of.
I know, Margaret, but there's going to be some talk.
Talk? Why, he can go right ahead and criticize me if he wants to. Why, I've lived all my life in this town. Everybody knows I've never done anything immoral. I certainly don't know what he... Harley, is it bad?
It's pretty bad, Margaret. But don't worry, we'll just have to wait and see.
Well, author, your so-called literary book arrived. Your dear friend Margaret Shepperton, who has always been like a sister to you, is ruined for life. You have made her out no better than a wanton woman. You have disgraced your friends. Never come back here. You are the same as dead to all of us. If I saw a mob drag that monkey-fied carcass of yours across the square, I would not say a word. For weeks I have waited for the moment when your book would come and I would have it in my hands. And now what is there to say? You have laid waste the lives of your kinsmen. You have driven a dagger to the heart and left it fixed there where it must always stay. We'll kill you if you ever come back here. Signed, you know who. You have crucified us like Christ on the cross. If I had known you were going to write this kind of book, I could have told you lots of things. I know dirt about the people in this town that you never dreamed of.
In New York, George's book received a somewhat better reception than at home. In fact, he began to make all kinds of new and fabulous friends. This, then, was fame at last.
My boy, it was wonderful of you to come to my little party. Wonderful.
Oh, it was nice of you to invite me, Mr.
Oh, call me Peyton, son, and don't thank me. I ask myself, why does a man have money? Except to help the young, the deserving, and the brilliant, eh?
Well, I wouldn't say
it's intolerable, George. Intolerable. Did I hear them say you teach school? Intolerable. Couldn't happen anywhere but in America. I'll be back from this trip to Europe in a month, and I'm going to see that things are done for you. Whatever you want, George, just let me know.
Peyton! Peyton!
Well, it's all right, friend. How are you?
Why, just fine.
I was mighty sorry when I read about it in the paper.
Read what in the paper?
Why, the prize. You didn't get it.
What prize?
The Pulitzer Prize. They gave it to another man. Well, nice to have seen you, Weber. You must look me up sometime.
So much for his friend, the millionaire. Yet, let no one say that George was bitter. And then there was Dorothy. Dorothy was a beautiful and rich young widow, and her husband was recently dead.
Oh, Algy. Algy, it's all for you, Algy. Come back to me. George. Oh, George, my poor boy, don't go. You just don't understand. I want to be so good to you. Everything I do or think or feel is Algernon. Algernon, Algernon.
It was very fine and high and rare, and George Weber went away. He knew he was not fine enough, yet not for a moment should you think that he was bitter. And then there was another girl, and her he understood.
George, oh, George, darling, don't go.
But look at the time.
What does it matter? There is no time when we're together. Does it seem like only 2 weeks that we've known each other?
Oh, darling. Seems as though I'd known you all my life.
Oh, yes, George, yes. That's the way it is for me, too. Oh, darling, put your arms around me.
Like this?
Yes, George. Will you do one little thing for me if I ask you to?
Oh, darling, anything. Anything you ask me if I can.
I want you to use your influence to get me into the Cosmopolis Club.
Dawn came, and the stars fell. And yet, he would not have it thought that he was bitter.
Dear Andy, what is it that I have done? I have moments when I feel I would give my life if I could unwrite my book, unprint its pages. What has it accomplished except to ruin my relatives, my friends, and everyone in Libya Hill whose life was ever linked with mine? Have I really acted according to some inner truth and necessity? Or did my unhappy mother give birth to a perverse monster who has defiled the dead and betrayed the human race? I feel like a dead leaf in a hurricane. I don't know where to turn. Write me. Tell me what you think. Yours ever, George.
What do you want? What kind of an hour in the morning? Well, I'll be... Randy!
Hold on, George. Don't shoot.
Well, I'll be. Come on, man. Don't just stand there.
I thought I'd come up and find out what was eating on you, boy. Well, this is quite a place you've holed yourself up into.
Well, I've been working. Here, just clear off a chair and sit down. How is everybody?
Oh, everybody's in a daze. The bank failing and Mayor Kennedy committing suicide. They don't know what hit him. You must have read all about it in the papers.
Yeah, I did. Pretty bad, huh?
Very bad.
And what are they saying now?
About what?
About me, about my book.
Oh.
Randy, those letters I got, they almost killed me. Isn't there anybody there who cares about the book itself? Anybody who understands what I was trying to do?
I should think you'd know more about that than anyone.
All right, then. Small, two-timing bunch of crooked jackasses. They've done their best to ruin me. That's always the fate of the real artist. He gets driven out by the tribe.
George, of all the people I have ever known, you are the least qualified to play the wounded fawn. Huh? What's the matter with you, boy? Stop ranting. You drove yourself out of the tribe years ago. Now, don't you fool yourself into believing you were driven out by force.
You're right, of course. I don't know what gets into me.
That's better. Now what comes next? You started a new book?
Oh, look around you. Papers, ledgers, notebooks. Thousands of words, hundreds of ideas, dozens of scenes, but no book. Time's getting away from me. Gets away before I even know it's gone. Time.
Seems to me you've used your time pretty well.
Oh, no, I haven't. You know the only reason I've done all this work is because I'm so confounded lazy.
Lazy?
Plain lazy. I keep working because I'm afraid to stop. Because it's such hard work getting started again. I'll bet you anything. All these fellas who are supposed to be such hard workers are just the same. You take old Thomas Edison, pretending he works all the time because he likes it.
You don't believe that?
I do not. I bet he wishes he could stay in bed every day until 2 o'clock and then go on down to the pool hall.
Then what keeps him from it?
Every time he wants to lie in bed until 2 o'clock, he hears the voice of his old man.
His father? Why, he's been dead for years.
That doesn't matter. He still hears him. Just as he's rolling over to get an extra hour or two, I'll bet he hears old Pa Edison hollering from the foot of the stairs, telling him to get up, and he's not worth power enough to blow him sky high. They were all the same. They were always poor orphans, and school was always 6 miles away, and it was always snowing.
George.
That's why you get up, because you're afraid not to. That's how it'll be with me for the rest of my life. Every time I dream of tropic isles and plucking breadfruit from the trees, I'll hear the voice of the old man. Thus conscience doth make cowards of us all. I'm lazy. But every time I surrender to my baser self, the old man hollers from the stairs. In the end, I had to have Fame. And I had her, as she may be had. Only to discover that fame, like love, was not enough. At last the circle went full swing. The cycle drew to its full close. The world came in. And there was something in the world and in my heart that I had not known was there. I had gone back for rest, for oblivion, to that land which of all foreign lands I love the best. And I walked at morning through the Brandenburger Tor.
I've never had such a holiday, Heinrich. The whole city seems to be filled with music. And all for me.
For you and for the Olympic Games, my friend. But I ask you, is there anything on earth like Berlin in May?
Nothing.
It is so fortunate that you came here. Germany loved your books before, but now she has taken you to her heart. And the sales. Never has my publishing house known anything so wonderful.
Wait, what's that?
What, George?
Coming along the street there. Looks like some kind of parade.
Ah, no. It is not a parade. You will see them every day. Those are the fine boys of the Wehrmacht. Look at their fine striped backs. Have you ever seen anything so brave?
He saw the uniforms of olive green, the smacking, booted feet, the young faces shaded under iron helmets. But the people were making holiday, and Berlin was glorious, and this could not be sinister or bad.
What a crowd, Franz. I think the Olympics have turned out the whole city.
The whole country, George. Myself, I would not come, but you should see how it goes.
Well, why wouldn't you come? I've never seen such pageantry.
That is it. Myself, I do not like these demonstrations that these fools are making.
Are they fools? They build a stadium such as the world has never seen.
Oh, yes. And they will be building more things that the world has never seen. And some that the world will not like.
What's the matter? Why's everything stopped? What's going to happen now?
It means that this leader is coming now, this Führer. You had better stand up when everyone else does, George. You are an American, but you had better stand up.
He saw that everything had been planned for this moment, for this triumphant purpose. It all went beyond anything the games themselves demanded. But the games were thrilling, and this could not be bad.
Are you happy, my George?
Happy? Oh, Elsa, darling, I've never known such glorious happiness in all my life.
I want you to be happy. I love you, George.
I seem to have come home to something here. I've known so many years of wandering in exile, and now I've come home to Germany. And to you.
George, you will always be lonely, perhaps. You are an artist. The artist is a religious man, and he's lonely. But perhaps not so much now.
Elsa, is anything the matter? You seem worried about something.
No, nothing. We will not talk about it.
Oh, yes, we will. Now, what's the trouble?
No trouble, not with me. It was a friend of my family. They came and got him last night.
They?
The police.
Well, what for?
They do not say. They never say. George, it happens to so many. It is better not to talk.
Something was happening to him. It came to him in whispers, in phrases, in looks of fear and smiling faces that hid despair. He saw an entire nation infested with the contagion of an ever-present fear, silenced into a malignant secrecy. They had become spiritually septic with the distillations of their own self-poisons, for which now there was no medicine or release.
So, George, you are really going?
Well, I must, Franz. I've missed 2 boats already. I can't miss another one.
But you will come back. We do so love you here.
I hope I'll come back, Franz.
You must come back. And someday you must write a bitter book and tell all these fools where they belong. Only you must not say things that will make these people angry with you.
What kind of things?
Those things about politics, about the party. You must not say them yet. It would be quite dreadful if you did.
Why would it?
Because You have the best name now of any foreign writer. The people love you. And if you write things to make the party angry, we will not be able to get your books anymore or read them.
In France, a man must write what he must write.
Then, if you had to say some things about the party, you would say them?
Yes.
Even if it meant that we could no longer read what you write, and if you could never come back here?
Yes, even if they told me that.
Then I will tell you something. You are one big fool. You have a great name here. You are a famous writer. These bloody little politicians, they do not matter. The only thing I care about is what these dreadful fools will do to Germany, to the people. You do like the people, George.
Yes.
Yes, you must, of course. They are a good lot. They are big fools, but they are not too bad. Well, you must do what you must do, but you are one big fool. Come on, George. It is time to go.
The lonely, level land stroked past, the flat land, and then the solitude of the forest and the dusk beneath the kiefern trees. And inside the compartment, 3 people. 3 ordinary people.
Oh, pardon me, gnädige Frau. Would it disturb you if I were to smoke?
Oh, certainly not.
Your pardon, mein Herr. You can see the sign there. It says quite plainly, no smoking.
Oh, yes, of course I've seen it. In that case,
it makes no difference to me. Please smoke. I wished only to point out that the sign was there.
You are an American, I believe.
Yes, I'm on my way home. Weber is my name, George Weber.
Ah, you are the famous writer. I've heard of you. Allow me to present myself, Herr Horst.
I am delighted to meet you, Herr Weber. My name is Frau Morgan. Have you been in Germany long?
All summer.
You are so fortunate, you Americans. It is so difficult for a German citizen to travel anywhere.
It's difficult enough for me. I have so many papers and passes I can't keep track of them.
Oh, it is almost too complicated. I am a lawyer. I once had many activities outside Germany. Now they are impossible.
How soon will we come to the Belgian border? I'm anxious to reach Paris.
And so am I. There's an international congress of lawyers. It is my first trip outside of Germany in many months.
We should be at Aachen on the Belgian border almost any minute.
Oh, then there will be all the passes and the stamps and everything to show. Oh, of course it is necessary. It is all very necessary. I am a good German citizen. I do not wish to say anything.
I have said nothing at all?
Nevertheless, it is difficult. And since one can take out only 10 marks, how is one to get along in Paris?
How indeed?
I have an idea. I'm allowed to take 23 marks, you know, but I've spent it all. Perhaps I could help you.
You mean you would take some of our money?
Yes.
Oh, but that would be wonderful.
You are very kind, Herr Weber.
Have you more money than you're allowed to take out?
I have, of course. If you would take 10 of
Allow
mine...
me, please. I will give Herr Weber 10 marks. Of yours, Frau Morgan, he will take 13.
Well, you better make up your minds. We're slowing down. This must be Aachen.
Yes. Here are the 13 marks.
And here are 10 of mine.
Give them to me.
The pass control, they are so strict. They ask so many questions. Really, I'm quite nervous.
Put away the money, Herr Weber, quickly.
All right, it's safe.
I wonder if you would be so kind as to change seats with me, Herr Weber. I have weak eyes. The light from the window is very disturbing to me.
Well, it's nearly dark. But certainly. Just sit over here.
Achtung, pass control. Present your papers. Your name?
Weber, George.
Everything in order? Wait a bit. You have a certificate showing re-entrance into Germany from Kufstein. There is a certificate from Kufstein.
Well, I'm sure I had one. It must be in there someplace.
So, I found it. Very well. Your money?
23 marks.
So, next. Your name?
Anna Morgan.
Your destination?
Paris.
For how long?
3 days.
So, your papers are in order? Your money?
I have 42 marks.
That is illegal, as you know. You will hand over all in excess of 10. Naturally, the money will be held and returned to you. So, thank you. Next, your name?
Adolf Horst.
Your destination?
Paris.
For how long?
A week.
Your money?
10 marks.
So, Tell me, Herr Horst, how do you expect to remain in Paris for a week with only 10 marks?
Why,
Answer. How do you expect to remain in Paris for a week with only 10 marks?
I believe I may have perhaps another 20. Yes, I forgot. I do have another 20 somewhere.
And how much more? How much more? You!
Here now.
Quiet! You! Open your baggage.
There's some error. My name is Adolf Horst. You can see my papers. They're on order. I'm going to the International Congress of Lawyers. There's some error.
Enough. On your feet.
But you must let me...
Out! Get out! Move! So, now move. Your pardon, Herr Weber, for a moment. I regret this incident.
You're not going to let him go. You're going to keep him here.
Naturally. Heil Hitler.
Oh, this man.
Why, the dirty...
No, it is necessary. They all try to get out with their money.
Money? Well, I've got to go after him.
After him? Are you mad?
Well, here's 10 marks. I've got his money.
Sit down. He is in enough trouble already. Do you want him to keep you, too? You must not be upset. You look so troubled.
Well, I feel as if I were carrying blood money.
Not blood money. Jew money. They are taking out millions of marks. You foreigners, you just don't understand. Poor man. He must have wanted very badly to escape.
Yes.
Are we in Belgium now?
Yes.
Do not misunderstand me. I am a German. I love my country, but it is so good to be out.
And George, too, was out. Out of that country which had meant more to him than land, so much more than place. It was the other part of his heart's home, the dark, lost Helen that had been forever burning in his blood. He knew the priceless measure of his loss, but also of his gain. For he saw finally that you can't go home again, that there was no road back.
Therefore, old master, wizard Faust, old father of the ancient and swarm-haunted mind of man, old earth, old German land with all the measure of your truth, your glory, beauty, magic, and your ruin, and dark Helen burning in our blood, great queen and mistress. Dark land, old ancient earth I love, farewell. The world came in. And in this far place, I realized for the first time how sick we are, all of us, with a dread world sickness of the soul. But yet I have this to tell you, Fox. Man was born to live, to suffer, and to die, and what befalls him is a tragic lot. There is no denying this in the final end. But we must deny it all along the way. Mankind was fashioned for eternity, but man is fashioned for a day. He must believe that man's life can be and will be better, that man's enemies, fear, hatred, slavery, cruelty, poverty, and need, can be conquered and destroyed. For us, the living, we must speak, and speak the truth, as much of it as we can see and know. With the courage of the truth within us, we shall meet the enemies as they come to us, and they shall be ours. And if, once having conquered them, new enemies approach, we shall meet them from that point, from there proceed. In the affirmation of that fact, the continuance of that unceasing war, is man's religion and his living faith.
You have been listening to You Can't Go Home Again, an NBC Theater production of the Thomas Wolfe novel. If you wish to increase your knowledge and appreciation of literature we suggest you might enjoy the college-supervised courses now being offered in connection with the NBC Theater. For full information, write to NBC Theater in care of one of the following universities or colleges: the University of Louisville, Louisville, Kentucky; the University of Tulsa, Tulsa, Oklahoma; Kansas State Teachers College, Pittsburgh, Kansas; Washington State College, Pullman, Washington; the University of Arizona, Tucson, Arizona; Texas College of Arts and Industries, Kingsville, Texas; Brooklyn College, Brooklyn, New York. You also have a chance to win a set of the famous Encyclopedia Britannica. Several of the universities and colleges offering these courses are giving the Encyclopedia as prizes to the students doing the best work. Enroll in a supervised course, and you may be one of the fortunate ones to win the Encyclopedia Britannica. Next week, the NBC Theater gives place to a special Christmas Day broadcast from the Vatican. We return again the following week with a New Year's Day production of Charles Dickens' Great Expectations. You Can't Go Home Again was adapted for the NBC Theater by Clarice A. Ross. Marvin Miller was George, Ted Von Eltz, Wolf. Nestor Paiva was Mayor Kennedy. Polly Bear was Judge Bland. William Lally, Randy. Frank Gerstle was Sam. Lois Kibbe, Margaret. Michael Ann Barrett was Esther. Bruce Payne was John. Jerry Hausner, Herbert. Jeff Corey was McNabb. Lester Sharp, Heilig. Lillian Baeff, Elsa. Naomi Stevens, Frau Morgan. Jan Arvan was Horst. And David Wolf, the official. Your announcer, Don Stanley. Our intermission commentator was Norman Cousins, whose commentary was recorded. The director of the NBC Theater is Andrew C. Love. This program came to you from Hollywood. What's on NBC today? Comedy by Phil Harris and Alice Faye, and Mystery by Sam Spade are yours for the listening today on NBC. You'll hear Phil Harris demonstrate how not to get a Christmas tree, and Sam Spade will tell you the Whispering Death caper. Now, hear America's favorite, One Man's Family. Stay tuned to NBC.
The National Broadcasting Company presents Radio City Playhouse, Attraction 65. Ladies and gentlemen, here is the director of Radio City Playhouse, Perry W. Junkin.
Thank you, Fred, and welcome everyone to Radio City Playhouse. If, when discussing plots, you asked 100 people what they considered the ideal elements of a good story, you'd probably get 100 different answers, because story preferences are at best a matter of personal taste. However, every so often, all of us connected with Radio City Playhouse get an irresistible hankering after a smooth, restrained, but still slightly swashbuckling murder mystery. So this is what we are bringing you today. Here is David Gothard as Walter Kenyon in The Wine of Ora Paula, Attraction 65 on Radio City Playhouse.
It's taken me a long time, but at last I'm sitting at Christopher Faber's desk. The chair seems to fit me almost as though it were made to order. For 15 years I've wanted to sit in this chair in this office. Now it's mine. The power, the position, everything. And Christopher Faber is dead. I remember the morning the idea came to me. I was waiting in Mr. Faber's outer office for our regular 11 o'clock conference. Every morning at 11 o'clock, Mr. Faber condescended to talk to me. No other member of the staff ever spoke to him, except his secretary, Miss Hilden. What's the great man doing, Miss Hilden?
I imagine he'll buzz when he's ready.
And all the little slaves will come around.
You don't like him, do you, Mr. Kenyon?
Does anybody
I do.
honestly like him?
Yes.
He's affected, malicious, insincere, and a snob.
And a genius.
Genius is a very loosely used word, Miss Hilden.
Don't you think it's dangerous to talk like this to me?
Feel in a tattletale mood?
I am his private secretary. I consider it my duty to inform him on, shall we say, the attitude of the staff.
And you can also tell him that I consider any man who imports Spanish brandy and specially ground coffee to drink at 11 o'clock every morning is a fool. Shall I go on?
Suit yourself.
Well, you can also tell him that everybody on the staff hates his insides, including me.
If you're so unhappy here, Mr. Kenyon, why don't you quit?
Because I've put 15 years of hard work into this magazine, and not even Christopher Faber can make me give that up.
Don't be too sure, Mr. Kenyon. And he's made a success of the magazine.
The magazine was a success long before Faber ever got here, because a lot of us gave our lives to making it a success. I started as a kid just out of college. I had the rather naive notion that someday I'd be top man.
There's the top man, Mr. Kenyon. And if I were you, I wouldn't forget it. Yes, Mr. Faber?
I see Kenyon now.
Like to go a-running, Mr. Kenyon?
And right on the dot of 11, too. Isn't it dramatic? Well, good morning, Mr. Faber.
Good morning, Kenyon.
I heard from the Crocker Pathological Foundation. They...
Hand me the brandy glass. Thank you.
And they'd be happy to have us do a story.
Naturally. Why wouldn't they be happy?
So I was thinking that Donaldson would...
Magnificent brandy, Kenyon. Superb bouquet. Very rare, too. Very little of it in the world. El Vino del Ora Paula. Or do you understand Spanish?
As a matter of fact, I speak 3 languages.
I've never heard you say anything important in any of them. Superb flavor.
I was thinking that Donaldson would do well on the foundation.
You know, Kenyon, wine is very much like life. The epicure drinks only so much from the cask, delicately savoring the bouquet, zest. The fool drinks it all, even to the dregs, to ultimate bitterness.
Yes, sir.
You were saying?
About a writer to handle the Crocker Foundation story. I was thinking...
Indeed. I irritate you, don't I, Kenyon?
No, Mr. Faber. I understand you.
You do, eh? No, Kenyon, you understand your $30,000 a year salary. But go on. Donaldson, yes, Donaldson. I hardly think he has the scientific background for a story about disease and viruses. It's a complicated subject.
Yes, sir, I know.
You don't know. You wouldn't have suggested Donaldson. The Crocker Foundation is dealing with the elemental stuff of life itself. The subject is complex and dramatic. Send Paul Denning.
Yes, I thought of Denning, too, but we've been working him rather hard lately. He isn't in the best of health, you know. His nerves were pretty well shot during the war.
I'm not in the best of health either, but I'm at my desk every day.
From 11 to 2.
I'll overlook that. Send Denning.
I promised him 2 weeks off. He's just been married. He didn't have a honeymoon, so I gave him his vacation now.
Cancel it.
I hardly like to do that.
We're still paying him his salary, are we not?
Yes.
Then send him.
Yes, sir.
Oh, Kenyon. You've just been married, you say?
Yes.
What unfortunate young woman married Paul Denning?
A girl he met in Paris, a singer. She's French.
Since he's from Paris, that isn't unusual. What sort of a singer?
I don't know quite. She's from the Opera Comique.
Oh, her name, man. I was music critic for Le Figaro in Paris. What's her name?
Claire Boudet.
Oh, Boudet. Claire Baudet, I remember. I knew a lot of opera comique people. Now, what are you staring at?
I just had an idea.
Oh, was it painful?
That perhaps you'd like to meet her. Supposing I arranged a little dinner.
You're joking.
Just Paul and his wife and you and I.
You think you could stand to spend an evening with me, socially?
It wouldn't have to be a very long evening.
Touché. Well, I suppose I might as well, but don't harbor the notion that a dinner party will get Paul Denning taken off the Crocker assignment. Tell him to be ready to leave on Sunday. Those are orders.
Orders. Always it was orders. For years I'd put up with his incredible rudeness. His talk about art and wines and music. The connoisseur, the dilettante, the snob. Yes, I'd carry out his orders. But this time I'd had an idea. Just the glimmering of an idea, but it would do no harm to try. I would assign Paul Denning to the foundation story, but I'd wait until after the dinner party. Faber knew Claire Baudet. She'd told me that. Perhaps they might renew their acquaintanceship with Paul looking on. That would be at least a start.
Monsieur Faber, c'est charmant, charmant. Vous êtes un homme magnifique.
Un homme n'est pas homme jusqu'à ce qu'il soit plein d'âge et de raison.
Vous avez raison, mais je ne vous dirai pas vieux.
Oh, merci.
Claire, will you talk English, please?
Oh, Paula, I'm so sorry. We did not mean to leave you out of our little joke.
Of course we didn't.
It's just so long since I speak French with anybody. I did not mean to be unkind.
Of course you didn't, Paul. How would you feel if you were in Paris speaking French all the time and you suddenly met someone who spoke English?
I'm sorry, forget it.
Don't you speak any French, Paul?
No, I don't.
You must get weary speaking English all the time, Mrs. Denning.
Oh, it's just that all the time I have to think so hard. In French I converse. In English I just talk.
Besides, French is a much more beautiful language.
English suits me fine.
Mrs. Denning, has Paris changed much since the war?
Paris never changes, Monsieur Faber.
No, it's eternal, isn't it? The little cafe on l'avenue de l'Opéra, le Café Impérial. You remember it, Mrs. Denning?
Ah oui, l'Impérial. But that is where we met, Monsieur Faber. It is still there.
Is it indeed? I always picture it on a spring day. Chestnut trees in blossom, sunshine splashing the pavements, the sky blue as it's possible to be. Wouldn't it be wonderful if one could go back to springtime?
Come in. Oh, hello, Paul.
Good morning, Walter. I'm sorry I'm late, but Claire and I are getting ready to leave for the country.
Sit down, Paul.
Thanks. A swell dinner last night.
Did you enjoy it?
Do we ever enjoy our managing editor? Oh, Lord, how I hate that man.
You're going to hate him more, I'm afraid.
Oh? Why?
Your vacation's been canceled.
Canceled?
Postponed, then.
Well, who says so?
Mr. Faber says so.
But Claire and I were going away. We didn't have a honeymoon, and you promised me 2 weeks ages
I know,
ago.
Paul, and I'm sorry. I'm terribly sorry. Believe me. If it's the Crocker Foundation story, the German virus stuff, Faber wants you to write it.
But you said you were sending Donaldson.
Faber prefers you. He gave me definite orders. I tried to talk him out of it, but he was adamant. You're to do it.
I won't. I won't do it.
Paul, I haven't much time. You know what he's like. He wants you to do the story. You either do it or you quit. Now, which is it to be?
But it's such a lousy trick. We've made all our plans.
Which is it to be, Paul?
When did he decide this?
Oh, well, I'm not enough of a psychologist to know when he makes his decisions. Maybe it was at dinner last night. I don't know. He said he was impressed with your grasp of the subject, said you seemed to be very well informed.
On what?
On disease and drugs and viruses and so forth.
Last night? The subject didn't even come up. Faber was so busy talking French to Claire, he didn't make a direct remark to me all evening.
Oh, Paul, surely you're not jealous of Faber.
Why? Should I be jealous?
But the things he said to Claire were very innocent, really.
What things?
Oh, yes, you don't understand French, do you? Well, now, look, Paul, I know it's disappointing, and believe me, I'm sorry, but you can go on your vacation the moment you finish the Crocker story. It shouldn't take you more than 8 or 10 days.
When am I supposed to leave?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow? Is he crazy? I've got to work on some background material. I don't know enough about pathology to go up there just...
Paul Faber says you leave tomorrow. Look, Paul, if you feel that... Well, why don't you take Claire with you?
Why do you say it like that?
Well, since you planned a vacation, I thought maybe you'd like to take her along.
Will Faber okay the expense?
I'll guarantee it. Now, you go home and get ready. And whatever you do, be out of town by noon tomorrow. Yes?
It's 11 o'clock, Mr. Kenyon, and you know who's waiting.
All right. I'll ask him about you taking Claire. I know it'll be all right. Now go home and relax.
When, Kenyon, have you taken it upon yourself to subvert the policies of this publication?
I wasn't aware that Denning taking his wife along was covered by a definite policy.
Mrs. Denning is rather distracting, Kenyon. I don't approve of writers taking their families with them on an assignment. It interferes with their work.
I'm afraid I told him he could take her.
Then untell him. That's an order.
Yes, Mr. Faber.
Oh, Paul, you will never get that suitcase closed. She's too full up.
Your husband, madam, can do anything. Now watch. Oh, great. See if you can't take some of the stuff out, huh? Hello?
Hello, Paul.
Hello, Walter.
I'm glad I got you before you left. I'm afraid I have some bad news.
Now what?
You can't take Claire.
What?
Faber blew up. Says she's too distracting.
But, Walter, we're all packed. We've been looking forward to it. You suggested it yourself.
I know I did. I didn't dream he'd object. I'm sorry, Paul, really I am, but Claire can't go. Those are his orders.
Someday I'm going to kill that guy.
Not a bad idea. Look, call her up every night. I'll okay the long-distance charges. And I'm sorry, Paul.
All right, Walter. Well, that's that.
What is it?
Faber says you can't go.
Cannot go? I don't understand.
You can't come with me on the trip. You've got to stay here. Faber says so.
Then I will stay here.
Is that all you've got to say?
If I have to stay here, I will stay.
You don't sound very disappointed.
If Monsieur Faber say no, eh bien, is no.
Yeah. Claire, how well did you know Christopher Faber in Paris?
I suppose you would say he was an acquaintance. Why?
You used to meet him at some cafe, didn't you?
I met him once, that is all. I was with a friend. She told me he was a man I should know, the music critic of Le Figaro. She introduced us.
And after that?
After?
Oh, stop pretending, Claire. After the first time, did you see him again?
Paul, what is the matter with you?
It's very strange that after meeting you again at dinner the other night, Faber should be so anxious to get me out of town. It's also very strange that he should suddenly decide you're not to go with me.
Oh, Paul, surely you do not think that... Paul, I was 20, just starting in the theater, and nobody. Christopher Faber was an important critic. He was never interested in me. Oh, Paul, you know that is true. Darling, you're jealous without the tiniest cause. Really you are. But that's all right. Keep on being a little jealous. I like it.
It was very easy to keep Paul Denning out of town. There were always delays and corrections, and I blamed them all on Faber. Rewrites, more pictures, more data, check this. It was very easy. I kept him there as long as I could. And then, one night my phone rang. It was Paul. He was beginning to break.
Well, I'm not going to put up with it any longer.
Paul, it isn't my fault. He's been a fiend lately, unbearable.
But 3 rewrites? What am I, a kid? Is he crazy?
It's tough, Paul, I know, but if you have dinner with Dr. Langdon tomorrow night, maybe you can finish up by the middle of next week. Langdon should be of a lot of help.
Yeah, sure. Well, thanks for setting up Langdon for me. I've been trying to reach him.
Well, is that everything?
Walt.
Yes?
Is Claire seeing Faber?
Oh, Paul, don't pay any attention to rumors.
Are there rumors?
Oh, Paul, please.
Well, is he seeing her?
Well, why don't you ask Claire? You phone her every night.
I did ask her.
And what did she say?
She said no. What would you expect her to say?
But it isn't anything serious, Paul, believe me. If he is seeing Claire, I know there's nothing to it. He's just fond of, Paris and all that.
Listen, Walt. As soon as I'm through this dinner with Langdon tomorrow night, I'm driving to New York.
Now, Paul, listen.
I'm sorry. I've got to see Claire.
Hello? Hello? The plan was beginning to move. There were elements of luck in it, but Paul was unstable and jealous and married to a very beautiful woman whom he didn't quite trust. Yes, Paul could be depended upon to react violently. There were other things that had to fit into place, too. First, Faber had to stay home tomorrow night. This I took a chance on. He stayed in 9 nights out of 10 because of his health. Second, Paul mustn't arrive in the city until well after midnight. His dinner date would reasonably be expected to last until 7:30 or 8. It was at least a 5-hour drive home. That made it 1 o'clock. If Paul arrived in New York by 2 o'clock, things would work fine. I had no difficulty in getting Claire to have dinner with me. The luck part was that she decided to stay in town and not go home at all.
Oh, c'est merveilleux, magnifique. So gay, like Paris.
I'm glad you're enjoying it.
Oh, for 3 weeks at home every night and Paul away. Will he be home soon?
I hope so.
He will phone tonight and wonder where I am.
Well, he'll phone again tomorrow night.
Yes. Oh, Walter, I'm having such a wonderful evening. I'm never going home again.
On the contrary, you're going to be in Penn Station in exactly 20 minutes.
2:30. C'est impossible.
Your last train home leaves in 25 minutes.
Oh, no, this commuting. How I hate it.
That's what you get for living in the country.
Attends, j'ai une idée. I have a friend, Marie Deslauriers. Often she has asked me to stay all night in town with her. Tonight I will go. Oh, I cannot bear 30 minutes on that horrible train after all this champagne. I will telephone Marie. She will be enchantée.
I hadn't expected that she'd stay out all night. Now it was perfect. It was 4 o'clock when I let her out at her friend's house. By 4:20, I was home and in bed. I just made it. At 4:30, there was a frantic ringing at the door. All right, I'm coming. Paul, you want to wake everybody in the building?
Where is she?
What's the matter? Come in, man.
Where is she?
Where's who?
Claire.
Well, how should I know?
All the way in, I've been phoning. I stopped at every town and called her. She's been out all evening. I called Faber, too. He said she wasn't there.
Oh?
He sounded kind of funny. Is she out there with him?
Paul, go home.
I've been home. She's not there. That's the first place I went.
Well, as a matter of fact, she spent the evening with me.
When did that occur to you?
It's true, honestly. We went to dinner in the theater. It got pretty late, and we were having such a good time, she decided to stay in town with a friend, some woman with a French name. Oh, now, Paul, don't look like that. I'm not covering for Faber.
He's got you where he's got the rest of us. Hypnotized. You not only worked for him, you lied for him.
Now, look, Paul.
If Claire's out there with him, I'll kill him.
Then go ahead, kill him. But stop yelling at me. It's not my fault if Claire prefers Faber to you. If you think they're having an affair, go out and settle it with Faber. But get out of here and leave me alone. There was a wonderful frenzied jealousy in his eyes. His hands were shaking. His face was white. After he'd left, I sat there alone and willed for him to go out to Christopher Faber's and kill him. Faber would be contemptuous and insulting. Paul was half crazy with jealousy and hate. Put them all together, and I was pretty sure that what did happen would happen.
I can't believe it.
Oh, now let's not have any tears, Miss Hilton. All the tears in the world will not bring Mr. Faber back to life.
I just can't believe it.
How did you find out?
His houseboy phoned as soon as I got to work. He was shot through the heart. They called the police.
Have they any idea how it happened?
I don't know. The houseboy was hysterical. Mr. Critchfield's been on the phone like fury. The whole place is in an uproar.
It's quiet enough in here.
His office is always quiet. He ran it that way. Smoothly.
You liked him, didn't you?
He was a genius.
Yes, I suppose he was in his own way.
The magazine will suffer.
The magazine won't suffer.
Oh? I suppose you're taking over.
Miss Hilden, I have taken over. Hand me the brandy glass.
No, they're his. Everything in this office is
The brandy glass, Miss Hilden. From now on, I'll be indulging in the 11 o'clock ceremony. The brandy glass, Miss Hilden. Thank you. Such bouquet. El vino del Ora Paula. Delicious. Order me 5 cases, Miss Hilden. You know where he gets it.
Grabbing at everything even before he's cold, aren't you, Mr. Kenyon?
Why not? It's mine now.
It'll never be yours. You can drink his brandy and strut around his office, but you'll never be the man he was. Never.
Oh, delicious. Really delicious.
You'll never replace him. Never. You haven't got what it takes. He had this wonderful, studied, conscious arrogance, but underneath there was passion and soul.
Miss Hilden.
Yes?
I dislike you intensely.
Will there be anything else?
You're a thoroughly disgusting woman.
Thank you.
And you're fired, of course.
Of course. Do you want me to leave now?
Let's say 5 o'clock.
All right. Let's.
Are you Mr. Kenyon?
Young man, before you walk into this office, you knock. Supposing you try it again.
I'm sorry. I'm looking for Mr. Kenyon.
I am Mr. Kenyon. If you wish to remain on the staff of this magazine, go outside, close the door, and knock. Then I will see you.
I'm Lieutenant O'Keefe of Homicide. I'm sorry if I'm intruding.
Oh, yes, excuse me. We're all quite upset here. This is Miss Hilden, Lieutenant. She was Mr. Faber's stenographer.
Miss Hilden?
Lieutenant?
What do you want, Lieutenant?
One of the young ladies outside said that you might be able to give me some information about a Mr. Paul Denning.
Yes. What do you want to know?
Was he on your staff?
He is on our staff.
Huh?
A writer. A very good one, incidentally. Why?
He came into the station half an hour ago, completely hysterical. Said he'd lost his wife and that he'd murdered Christopher Faber.
Murder? Paul Denning?
Go on, Lieutenant.
Paul Denning?
He said he'd killed Faber around 11 this morning. Of course, that's ridiculous because it's only 11:15 now. Faber's been dead about 7 hours. He shot himself around 4 this morning, we think.
Shot himself? Suicide?
Yes, there was a note. Rather poetic, something about life being like wine. Said he tasted the bouquet and drained life to the dregs. Oh, sorry, Mr. Kenyon. I know this is painful.
Was there anything else, Lieutenant?
What sort of a job was Denning working on?
Why, he was writing a story on the Crocker Pathological Foundation.
I see.
They've developed some new drugs. They're supposed to be very powerful.
Uh-huh. Would they be working with viruses?
Yes, I suppose so.
Well, that checks anyway. He said he'd stolen some kind of virus from this doctor last night. Said he had enough to kill 100 men in a tiny vial. Then he said he'd sneaked in here early this morning.
In here, in this office?
Yes. And put the virus in a bottle of brandy. Is that the bottle of brandy?
You have just heard The Wine of Ora Paula by John Hasty, Attraction 65 on Radio City Playhouse. David Gothard was Walter Kenyon, Louis Van Rooten was Christopher Faber, Alan Stevenson was Paul Denning, Marilyn Erskine, Miss Hilden, Hope Miller was Claire Boudet. The music was composed and conducted by Dr. Roy Shield. The entire production was under the direction of Harry W. Junkin.
This is Harry Junkin again. Next week, a special Christmas show. The charming story by Paul Gallico called 'Twas the Night Before Christmas, all about newspapers and goats and Christmas. We hope you'll join us next week, Attraction 66 on Radio City Playhouse. Good afternoon, everybody.
What's on NBC today? It's the Browning version starring Maurice Evans and Edna Best in their original roles on Theater Guild on the Air tonight on NBC. And then stay tuned for the songs of Thomas L. Thomas, now joining the cast on American Album of Familiar Music. This is Fred Collins speaking. Now stay tuned for James Melton and Harvest of Stars on NBC.
Good health to all from Rexall. It's the Phil Harris Alice Faye Show, presented transcribed by the makers of Rexall drug products and 10,000 independent Rexall family druggists.
Good evening. This week, we independent Rexall druggists would like to play Santa Claus to all you tired, last-minute Christmas shoppers. Our present to you is quick, easy, economical gift buying without all the rush and worry. Suggestions? Well, there's Caranome, one of America's oldest and most respected line of beauty aids, and a Rexall exclusive. We have Caranome cosmetics in delightful gift sets for as low as $1.25, up to a luxurious, completely fitted travel case for $79. Then there's Stag, Rexall's exclusive and popular toiletries for men. You can buy them individually gift boxed for as little as 75 cents. Or in handsome combination sets and fitted bags, up to $15.95. If you're faced with some of that last-minute gift buying, look for the store with the orange and blue Rexall sign on the window. This week, that sign means quick, easy, can't go wrong Christmas shopping.
Merry Christmas to all from Rexall. And now your Rexall family druggist brings you the Phil Harris Alice Faye Show. Written by Ray Singer and Dick Chevrolet, with Elliot Lewis, Walter Tetley, Robert North, Janine Roos, Ann Whitfield, Walter Sharp and his music, yours truly, Bill Foreman, and starring Alice Faye and Phil Harris. With Christmas just a week off, the Harris family is busily engaged putting a few Yuletide decorations around the house. Alice is hanging a holly wreath in the window, and Phil has just finished hanging some mistletoe over the door.
There. Mistletoe. Ah, Philip, the many girls whose toes you've curled under this little sprig of greenery.
That green stuff you just hung over the door?
Oh, mistletoe, honey. Better known as smooching spinach.
Why do you hang it over the door?
Well, it's like a game, baby Alice. The idea is for a fella to get a girl under the mistletoe and then kiss her.
Did you ever play the game, Daddy?
Did I ever play? I was All-American 12 years in a row.
If a fella gets a girl under the mistletoe, he kisses her? That sounds like a silly game to me.
Don't knock it till you've tried it, gal. And don't try it till you get my permission.
Daddy, before you married Mommy, did you have any girlfriends?
Oh, I had a few. I say a few.
How many?
Well, I don't remember. When I got married, I fired my scorekeeper. You know something? I probably had more girlfriends than you could...
Phil, what are you doing?
Daddy's telling us about all the girls he knew before he met you.
Oh, them. That should make for nice, dull conversation.
Mommy, did you know that Daddy used to go out with other girls?
Oh, of course I knew we went out with other girls.
I say girls. I never knew what a girl was supposed to look like until he met me. Now, look, Father, stop bragging about your former...
Hello there. Where is everybody? Oh, hello there. Good morning, children. Howdy-doody, Philip.
Howdy-doody. Oh, you dimpled darling, you. You know, sometimes, Willie, you're so cute I
Philip,
could just...
stop chucking me under the chin.
I ain't chucking you under the chin. I'm groping for your windpipe.
I see you have your decorations up, Alice, and they look wonderful. The holly and the berries. What's that green stuff hanging in the doorway there?
That's mistletoe.
What do you hang that up for?
What do you... Oh, this kid really lives. Why, I don't know, but he's... Look, Willie, you're supposed to get a girl under... Look, didn't your father ever tell you about the birds and the bees?
Naturally. Birds. A bird is a warm-blooded, feathered, egg-laying vertebrate commonly known as the avian sauropsida.
Huh?
A bee is a honey-gathering hymenopterous insect of the genus Apis.
All right, Willie, all right.
Philip, that's the scientific definition of the birds and the bees.
Well, I must have a talk with my father. Papa is away off the beam. Your brother always
I also know about fish.
Now, shut up!
Willie, do you really like our decorations?
Oh, Alice the Beautiful. And I'm glad to see that you people are imbued with the Christmas spirit. That's more than I can say for our city fathers. Where's the big community tree they always have in front of City Hall? I ask you, where is it?
Well, don't look at me. I ain't got it.
No, you're right, Willie. I wonder why they don't have the tree up this year.
That's what I'm going to find out. I'm on my way down to City Hall right now to get to the bottom of this. I'll go in and I won't come out till I know the whys and the wherefores.
What did he say?
He said he's going in on his why and coming out on his where.
You know, Willie, you're right. We should have a community tree, and I'm going to the City Hall with you. You're coming too, Phil. If enough people protest, we'll get results.
But, Alice, I can't go. I've got a date with Frankie.
Well, we'll pick him up and take him, too.
Oh, all right. But I don't know if I'm in favor of this. Gee whiz, in order to put a tree up, you got to chop one down.
What's wrong with that?
I don't believe in it. You see, I've an affinity for our little green brothers. And if you'll lend me your big flapping ears, I'll proceed to tell you why. There is a tree grows near our house. It's been there quite some time. Now, the tree is a slippery elm tree and awful hard to climb. But when my wife gets after me, in that tree I always roost. Why, I can go right up it just like a healthy squirrel. I don't never need no boost. But the other day, a woodman came round to chop my refuse down. Kept mumbling something about breaking it up into kindling wood and then spreading it around the town. I said to him, look here, my friend, hold on, wait, desist, whoa, stop. Put down that forest razor. Chop not a single chop. Woodman, spare that tree. Touch not a single bough. 3 years it has protected me, and I'll protect it now. Now go chop an oak, get a birch or pine. But save old Slippery there, that's mine. That's the only tree my wife can't climb, Mr. Woodman. It's bad for me. I went further than that. I said, Woody, can you see that hole way up near that old treetop? That's the one. I got $5 in soft money hid up there, and it's yours if you refuse to chop. Now, you see, no one can climb that tree but me, because really, friend, it's too slippery. Fact is, I can't get up there very well myself unless my wife is after me. So you go home and get my little woman and bring her here, and I'm going to proceed to call her a very naughty word. Then all you have to do, Mr. Woodman, is stand by incognito while I do that perfect imitation of a bird. Now, you ain't going to know just where I go. That is, while my wife's around. But the only thing I ask you, Mr. Woodman, the only thing I ask you, if you don't see me here on the ground, Woody, you gonna spare that tree. Touch not a single bough. Because I'm gonna be up there and I'll drop old 5 down to thee, the one I promised thou. You must make that axe behave. Because old Slippery there just must be saved. Man, that's a borderline twixt me and the grave. Mr. Woodman, Woody, spat. Please spat for me. Frankie, you've been beefing all the way down to the city hall. What's the matter?
I got a right to beef. You're all very inconsiderate. Dragging me out of a warm, homey pool room. But if you want a tree, I'll talk to the mayor. He don't make a move without me. I'm here to see him every day.
Hey, you know Mayor Baldwin? Intimately.
We're old friends. I call him Baldy, and he calls me... You wouldn't think a man in his position would use that kind of language.
I see he knows you well.
Yes.
Look, Remley, I tell you, I'm thinking it over. You'd better wait here, and we'll go in and see him without you, huh? We'll be back.
Well, here's the mayor's office. Now then, let's all go in together and assert ourselves. Pardon me, are you the mayor?
Yes, come right in. Always glad to see the public. Make yourselves at home. Sit down, take your coats off, have a cigar. I suppose you're here to see me about the coming elections.
Coming elections? Mr. Mayor, you've just been elected. You're all set for the next 2 years.
I am? All right, stand up. Put your coats on and give me back those 2 cigars. What's the idea of barging into my office like this?
Mr. Mayor, we came in to see you about a Christmas tree.
Why didn't you say so? I have some very nice trees. What size do you want? I sell them by the foot. Always like to make a side buck or two. I'm an expert. I know all about trees.
Well, that's a coincidence. We have a boy here who knows all about birds, bees, and fish. Go ahead, Willie. Tell him about the birds.
Birds. A bird is a warm-blooded, feathered...
Okay, Willie, that's enough. Don't tell him all you know. Let him ask his own father. Mr. Mayor, we want to know why the community Christmas tree isn't up this year.
Yes, you're a disgrace to your office. Your incompetence is something...
Just a moment. How dare you talk like that to a man in my esteemed position? Why, I'm a man of integrity, and you two are nothing but riffraff.
Now, just a minute, Bud.
Quiet, Riff. I'm talking to Raph.
Mayor, why don't we have a tree this year?
Well, I'm sorry, madam, but it slipped our minds, and I'm afraid it's too late to put through an appropriation.
Well, isn't there something you can do about it? Please?
No, Alice, don't ask him. Demand it. Mr. Mayor, we are the taxpayers who put you in office. We pay your salary, and you're working for us.
Oh, nuts. They always get me with that corny line. What did I ever do to deserve a job like this?
No, Mr. Mayor, we're sorry.
Most people work for one boss and only take orders from him, but not me. I work for every crumb bum that comes into this office with a beat. Just because I'm the only Republican in the country in office, everybody picks on me.
Now, Mr. Mayor, control yourself. Will you control your... And stop crying. You're wetting your dewy button.
Well, it's enough to drive a man crazy. Everybody's always coming in here asking for favors. What's taking you people so long? Oh, hiya, Baldy. No, Remley, not you again. How many times do I have to tell you we can't keep the saloons open all night?
I'm not here for that.
Oh, you must be lobbying for your uncle again. Now, look, Remley, I've told you and I've told your uncle. I cannot give him a license to steal.
Frankie, your uncle wants a license to steal?
Yeah. The only way he can be law-abiding and still make a living.
Mr. Mayor, if we buy a tree, will you allow us to put it up?
Certainly, if you can find a 30-foot tree, it's okay with me, but I don't know where you're going to buy one that size at this late date.
Oh, we don't have to buy one. I know exactly where to get one. I saw a lot of them up in the San Bernardino Mountains last week when I was there skiing.
I'll leave it to him to pronounce it that way.
Honey, let's go up there and get a tree. Might be fun to spend a day in the snow, huh?
Okay. While Willie is skiing in the snow, you and I can go ice shading on the lake. I love the ice shade. Let's do it. We can get Julius's delivery truck to bring the tree back. Hey, Rem, come on up with us, will you?
No, thanks. I'm not a cold weather man.
Now, wait a minute. I hear the lake's frozen over, and we can do a little ice skating.
Sorry, Curly. Once you take ice away from ginger ale, it loses all its sex appeal.
True.
Besides, I don't like cold weather.
Now, wait a minute. You won't mind it if you dress warm. Look, you go home and get all the heavy clothes that you can find, and then meet me at Julius's. And Alice, you better dress warm, too, because I hear they're having some storms up there.
Oh, as long as you're with me, Phil, I won't have to dress warm.
What do you mean, and why are the musicians picking up their instruments?
The snow is snowing, the wind is blowing, but I will weather the storm. What do I care how much it may storm? I've got my love to keep me warm. I can't remember a worse December. Just watch those icicles fall. What do I care if icicles fall? I've got my love to keep me warm. Off with my overcoat, off with my gloves. I need no overcoat. I'm burning with love. My heart's on fire. The flame grows higher. So I will weather the storm. What do I care how much it may storm? I've got my love to keep me warm. Off with my overcoat, off with my gloves. I need no overcoat. I'm burning with love. My heart's on fire. The flame grows higher. So I will weather the storm. What do I care how much it may storm? I've got my love to keep me warm.
I wonder where Frankie is. He was supposed to meet me here at the market, and the guy is
Hiya,
always...
Curly.
Oh, hello, Remley. It's about time you showed up. We got to get started. What do you got on?
Few warm clothes for the snow country.
2 suits of long underwear, 4 sweaters, a lumberjacket, a mackinaw, a parka, a coonskin cap, and a raccoon coat over the whole thing. How do I look?
Like a blob of hairy blubber. Now, look, what have you got in that case strapped around your waist?
Batteries. My red flannels are electrically heated.
All that stuff in electric underwear? Aren't you a little overheated?
No. I ain't plugged in.
And another thing, Remley, you got that coonskin cap on wrong. The tail's supposed to be in the back. Oh, Remley, you didn't have to put all that stuff on until we got... Oh, never mind. There's Julius. Hey, I've got to ask you if you'll loan us his truck. Hey, Julius!
Hi, Mr. Harris.
Hi, kid.
Well, if it ain't a nook at a north. Hey, Mr. Harris, what's Klondike Clyde dressed up for?
Well, we're going up to the snow country, and he's prepared for it.
Oh. What's that ridiculous-looking thing hanging down in front of his face?
That's his nose.
I mean, that other ridiculous-looking thing.
That's a tail.
Oh. His face is very becoming.
Yeah, from the front, he looks like a sheepdog from the back.
Oh, I am just convulsed by this hilarious routine. What's the matter with you guys? You think you never saw somebody wearing a nose muff before?
What are you going up to the snow country for?
Well, we're going up to get a community tree for the town, and, well, we want to borrow your delivery truck to bring it back. Julius, can we have it?
What kind of a question is that? For such a noble cause to help humanity? To bring Yuletide cheer to my fellow townsmen? I'd have to be the lowest kind of heel to refuse permission for you gentlemen.
All right, never mind the speech, never mind. Where are the keys to the truck?
In my pocket, but you might have a little trouble getting up to the mountains.
Why?
I ain't going to lend you the truck.
But you just made a big speech about noble causes. What was that for?
I like to hear myself talk. I'll lend you the truck if I do the driving.
Okay, you can do the driving. Now, come on, will you? We got to pick up Mrs. Harris and Willie, and then, fellas, we're off to the mountains.
Phil, can't we stop down one of these small trees?
No, we're not going to give up. Now, we came up here to get a great big tree, and that's what we're going to get.
Oh, but Phil, the snowstorm is getting worse. Let's get back to the truck. I'm freezing.
That's the trouble with you women. You can't take it. I'd like to keep you warm, but I don't know how.
Well, it might help if you gave me back my fur coat.
Oh. Well, if you want to be selfish, take it. Here. Ooh. Hey, you're right. It's freezing without that coat. How do you feel, Frankie?
Very comfy. I just plugged myself in. My thermostat says I'm 78. I think I'll turn it up to 85.
Phil, please, let's get back to the truck. Phil.
Huh?
You smell smoke?
Yeah, I do. Frankie, it's coming from you.
From me?
Yeah.
How do you like that? I got a short circuit in my red flannel.
Oh, we've got to get out of here. I'm freezing.
I'm freezing, too.
I'm sweating. Maybe I better turn down the damper on my underwear.
Frankie, will you be quiet a minute? I'm freezing to death. Oh, Alice. I might as well confess. I hate to tell you this, but, honey, we're lost. I don't know where we are.
Well, what are you worrying about? If we're not back at the truck soon, Willie and Julius will come looking for us.
Yeah, but suppose they get here late. It's getting colder every minute. We're lost in this bleak, desolate wilderness, and I'm freezing. Freezing. Do you hear me? Freezing.
What are you getting excited about? Take it easy.
How can I? I'm starting to get numb, and my feet are frozen. Look at my little ankles. They're blue. My ankles are blue.
Those are your socks. Nothing wrong with your feet.
I say there is something wrong. My leg is frozen stiff. Look, Frankie, I'm pinching it, and there's no feeling in it. Why is there no feeling in my leg?
Maybe it's because it's my leg you're pinching.
Well, this is a fine time for that.
He's right, honey. Drag it out of the way. Now, look, kids, don't worry, because I'm going to get you out of this. And Alice, honey, control yourself. Don't get hysterical. Please don't get hysterical.
I'm not hysterical.
Don't argue with me. And as for you, Remley, will you keep calm and stop blubbering like a baby?
Who's blubbering? I'm happy as a bird dog.
Don't change the subject. Now, wait a minute, Frankie. Get a grip on yourself, because we're a couple of big, strong men, and it's up to us to rescue this frail woman.
You're right. Let's get this frail out of here.
In time. What happened to all of you?
Oh, we all got lost. Frankie passed out, and I had to drag him for a half a mile.
How's Philip? Is he all right?
Lift him off my back and see.
Oh, for goodness sake. Julius, give me a hand.
All that trouble, and we didn't even get a tree.
Oh, well, we got one. Julius and I found a big one right near where we parked the truck.
Oh, where are we? What happened?
You're all right, Philip, and don't worry, I'm here.
You I don't need. Where's the dog with the brandy?
Hey, I need a drink, too. Pass the St. Bernard around.
I got something to warm you up. Here, Mr. Emily, take a short swig of this. Yeah. All right, that's enough, Mr. Emily. I said that's enough. Like a
Julius, that stuff's terrific. And I ought to know, because I'm a judge of good liquor. What's the name of it?
Antifreeze.
Poison, I'm dying. Now, take it easy, Remley. Take it easy. Don't get excited. Take it easy. You'll only... Look at him boil over.
Alice and Phil will be back in just a moment. But right now, here's a stand-in for Santa Claus, your Rexall family druggist.
Yes, friends, there are 10,000 such stand-ins for Santa this week. 10,000 independent family druggists who are ready, willing, and able to take the rush and worry out of your last-minute Christmas shopping.
I need a gift idea for the ladies.
Okay. How about Cara Gnome?
Cara Gnome?
The dearest name in cosmetics, my friend, and a Rexall exclusive. That's why your Rexall family druggist can show you distinctive Cara Gnome gift sets for as low as $1.25. On up to the most luxurious, completely fitted travel cases. A lifetime gift for $79.
And the men on my gift list.
Put them in the Stag line, ma'am, for Stag is Rexall's exclusive and popular line of men's toiletries. Designed for fine but completely masculine grooming, Stag products are individually gift boxed for as little as 75 cents. On up to handsome combination sets and fitted bags for $15.95.
And you've got lots more ideas like these?
Dozens of them.
No wonder you can stand in for Santa.
And we'll be doing it all next week at the store with the orange and blue Rexall sign on the window. Make it your headquarters for Christmas shopping.
Merry Christmas to all from Rexall.
We're a little late, so good night, folks.
Good night, everybody.
This program was produced and transcribed by Paul Phillips. Be happy on Christmas Day. Eliminate the rush and worry, the disappointments of last-minute Christmas shopping. Tomorrow, take your gift list to your Rexall family druggist. His store is filled with distinctive, sure-to-please gifts for the home, for the children, for the entire family. Gift it's a pleasure to give, economical to buy. Look for the store with the orange and blue Rexall sign on the window. This week, it's headquarters for just right, price right Christmas gifts.
Stay tuned for Sam Spade, then Maurice Evans on Theater Guild on NBC.
And now, stay tuned for the program that is rated tops in popularity for a longer period of time than any other West Coast program in radio history. The Signal Oil program, The Whistler.
S-I-G-N-A-L
Signal
gasoline.
Signal, the famous Go Farther gasoline, invites you to sit back and enjoy another strange story by The Whistler. For extra driving pleasure, the signal to look for is the yellow and black circle sign that identifies Signal service stations from Canada to Mexico. And for Sunday evening listening pleasure, the signal to listen for is this whistle that identifies the Signal Oil program, The Whistler.
I am the Whistler, and I know many things, for I walk by night. I know many strange tales hidden in the hearts of men and women who have stepped into the shadows. Yes, I know the nameless terrors of which they dare not speak.
And now, for the Signal Oil Company, The Whistler's strange story, Patroness of Murder.
Paul Wilson moved about his studio, adding the final touches of preparation for two expected guests, two very important guests. One of them, Miles Hubbard, the aging sculptor turned critic, could hold the key to the success of Paul's career. His nod of approval could mean a future of security and position. Without it, the world might never know the talents of Paul Wilson, sculptor. And Paul was certain that his second guest, Don Alden, had arranged this meeting for the sole purpose of getting an expert's appraisal of his work. But it was no gesture of friendship. Paul's meetings with Don had never been friendly. This one would be no exception. Paul was certain of that. Their cold exchange of glances when Paul met them at the door proved that. The forced pleasantries over with, Paul showed them to the studio. And this, gentleman, is my workshop.
Mm-hmm. Fine studio, Wilson. Plenty of room. Good lighting. Everything a room can offer the artist is here. The rest is up to the man himself, eh, Wilson?
Oh, that's quite right, Mr. Hubbard. The rest is up to the man himself.
I hate to take too much of Mr. Hubbard's time, Wilson. Can we see your work?
Whenever Mr. Hubbard's ready, I'll be glad to show him.
When one grows old, Wilson, one learns the great wisdom of economy. Economy of time, economy of words, economy of emotion.
Oh, yes, it's a great lesson to learn.
I tell you this because when I look at your work, I shall have an instant evaluation. Either it will be good or bad, and I shall tell you immediately.
It's an honor to have you here, sir. I'm anxious for your opinion.
Yes, well then, may we see some examples of your sculpture? Now, please.
Right now. There you are, gentlemen. My latest.
Yes. There is promise here. There is not yet greatness, but there is much promise. Much great promise.
Oh, Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
You mean it's really worthwhile then, Mr. Hubbard?
Worthwhile, yes, worthwhile. But promise, that's the word, Don. Mostly there is promise.
I'm afraid Mr. Alden has thought of me chiefly as a stonemason, or felt perhaps that I should carve soap.
I wanted to be certain, that's all, for Aunt Martha's sake. She's been financing your work for a long time now.
She'll be repaid later.
Perhaps. If you're as good as you've made her think you are.
Miss Alden thinks well of the young man's ability, Don?
Very well. She told me the other evening she's planning to leave him half of her estate so that he can continue his work if anything happens to her. That's why your opinion is so important, Miles.
I see. Well, he has the virility, Don. You can see it, can't you? And a strong feeling for material. There is much of Mestrovic here. You studied with him, perhaps, Wilson?
Not directly, no.
Mestrovic?
Famous Balkan sculptor, oh, yes. Mestrovic's work is very distinctive, entirely free from the French influence.
You didn't study abroad, did you, Wilson?
No, I didn't. Oh, it's you, Michael. Back from your shopping so soon?
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry, Paul, your guest.
My houseman and helper, gentleman, Michael Dobovich.
How do you do, Michael? Well, we must go now, Wilson. Economy of time, you know.
Michael's entrance was ill-timed, wasn't it, Paul? You quickly look for meaning in Don's expression and then in Miles Hubbard's placid face, but you find none. Perhaps they suspect nothing after all. You grow more certain of that as you see them to the door. Miles Hubbard repeats his appreciation of your work, and you say your farewells. After your guests leave, you turn angrily to Michael.
Why did you burst in like that without knocking?
I'm sorry, Paul. I didn't know you had guests.
Oh, but couldn't you hear us talking?
Well, I suppose I did hear you, but I assumed your guests were merely friends who had dropped in.
My guests were merely Miles Hubbard, the greatest authority on sculpture in the West.
Yes, I know.
Don Alden, nephew of Miss Martha Alden, the lady who is providing the money for us to continue our work.
Yes, Paul, I didn't realize.
And you're supposed to be my houseman.
Yes, I know.
Well, then act like a houseman.
Yes, Paul, I'm sorry. In the future, you'll have no cause to complain, however. I shall be a model gentleman's gentleman.
Okay, see that you do.
And never again shall I enter the studio unexpectedly. And if there are guests present, I shall wait outside for their departure, for hours if necessary.
Oh, I know it isn't pleasant playing houseman, but right now it's the only way I can explain your presence. This studio, Miss Alden's help is important to both of us.
Of course, Paul, and I want you to know I'm very grateful. My food, my clothing, money to spend, a place to live and work. Why, I owe it all to you.
Not to me, Michael. To your undeveloped talent. I recognized it instantly. Miles Hubbard simply confirmed my faith in you.
It's a very great honor.
Now, after one or two showings of your work using my name, my connections, I'll be proud to step aside and announce you as the promising creator.
Yes, and then I shall tell them what a fine friend and benefactor you have been.
Yes, I'm sure you will, but until then, for our sake, for your sake, we must both treat our arrangement with strictest confidence.
Of course, Paul.
By the way, did you study with Mestrovic?
Mestrovic? Oh, yes. It was a great privilege. The master himself.
I'm glad. I'm very glad, Michael. For you, of course.
That approach has always worked with Michael, hasn't it, Paul? You've traded on his hunger, his fears, his insecurity in a new land. You won't mind exploiting his promising talent as your own, even though you've convinced him that his obscurity is only for a little while. Yes, things are moving along nicely, aren't they? And your situation looks brighter than ever. A few days later, Linda Wells, attractive secretary to Miss Martha Alden, your kindly, elderly sponsor, phones you.
Hello?
Hello, Paul. This is Linda.
Linda, you should do this more often. I feel better already.
Well, you'll feel still better when I tell you the reason for this call. Miss Alden's coming to the studio to see you this afternoon. 3 o'clock sharp. You'll be there, of course.
Yes, of course. But what's it all about, Linda?
She didn't say. All I know is Miss Alden talked on the phone with Miles Hubbard.
Miles Hubbard?
Mm-hmm. and she seemed very pleased afterwards.
You're sure?
Quite sure. A few minutes later, she ordered her car and asked me to phone you. She'll be there at 3, Paul.
Because I'll be here. Thanks for calling, Linda. Well, Paul, the critic, Miles Hubbard's visit to your studio with Don Alden, Miss Alden's nephew, has rebounded to your interest, hasn't it? You know that Don brought him to the studio on the belief that the famous critic would brand the sculpture as worthless. Instead, he praised it. And now Miles Hubbard has told Miss Alden herself that it's good. Yes, Michael is a fine sculptor, isn't he, Paul? And a valuable houseman. You're curious as to what she'll have to say, and decide it will be just as well if Michael is elsewhere during Miss Alden's visit. So you send him off to buy supplies with instructions to take his time. With Michael out of the way, you pace the studio impatiently until Miss Alden arrives. Then you lead her through the studio, past the small entrance leading to the kitchen, enter the door to your combination den and living room, and sit spellbound as Martha Alden enthusiastically explains the reasons for her visit. But, Miss Alden, I can hardly believe you've left half of your estate to me.
I've been thinking about it for a long time, Paul. I've had such faith in you. That's why I was so pleased when Don suggested that before I took definite action, Miles Hubbard look at your work.
Well, I wondered about his visit.
And when Mr. Hubbard verified my own opinion, I decided to go ahead immediately. That's why I signed the documents this afternoon.
But your nephew, Don, if he didn't even like the idea...
I haven't told him or anyone that I've actually drawn a new will. And I don't intend to, for the present at least.
Well, Paul, it's no longer a question of maybe. Martha Alden has actually willed you half of her fortune. The necessary documents are signed and sealed. It is hard to believe, isn't it? After Miss Alden leaves, you return to your den, light a cigarette, and gaze dreamily out of the window. You look up startled at the sound of your name.
Paul.
Michael, I didn't hear you come in.
Oh, I came back a little while ago. I went to the kitchen.
Did you?
I got all the supplies. Paul, you have a visitor in the studio, Mr. Alden.
Don Alden?
Yes.
Well, I'll see him right away. Well, Mr. Alden, this is a delightful surprise.
Is it?
Most assuredly. What's on your mind?
I just wanted you to know, Paul. I've discovered the truth about you.
What do you mean?
That I'm certain you're a fraud and a cheat. In a few days, I'll have the proof to expose you publicly.
Tonight's $20 Signal gasoline book goes to Mrs. C.E. Grindell of Seattle, Washington, for this limerick. Our old car had all it could take. There wasn't a hill it would make. Then with Signal we gassed her. Now it runs so much faster, we drive with one foot on the brake.
Signal, signal, signal gasoline. Your car will go farther gasoline.
You may not actually have to keep one foot on your brake after you switch to Signal, like the driver in the limerick. But your accelerator foot will thrill to Signal's smooth surges of lively, responsive power. That's because peppy performance just naturally goes hand in hand with Signal's good mileage. So whether you're looking for economy or for sheer driving pleasure, look no farther. Just drive into a Signal station and fill up with Signal, the famous Go Farther gasoline.
You reel under the impact of Don's words, don't you, Paul? He's called you a fraud. He says he expects to prove that you're a fraud. You return his steady gaze and hope the fear and panic that you feel doesn't show on your face. You've got to keep your nerve, your composure. You need it now more than ever as Don continues to build his case against you.
It seems such a coincidence, Paul, that your work showed a distinct Mestrovic influence, especially since I've learned through his immigration papers that your houseman, Michael, comes from virtually the same section of the Balkans as the great sculptor himself.
As you say, a coincidence.
This cable I've just sent might interest you.
I doubt it.
I think it will. It's addressed to Mestrovic in Belgrade, asking a very simple but very important question. Was Michael Dobovich ever a student of yours? Your answer important to his career. Interest you?
It's too ridiculous.
When I get the answer I expect, I'm certain Aunt Martha will see her protege in an entirely different light. The instant I hear from Mestrovic, I will tell Aunt Martha everything. And you'll be finished, Paul. You'll be completely finished.
Don's been quite thorough, hasn't he, Paul? He's always hated you. You've known that. But you didn't know the lengths he'd go to ruin you with Miss Alden. You must stop Don. Somehow you're certain of that. But how? Hours later, you're still wondering and thinking. It's a sleepless night for you, isn't it? What are you going to do? Leave? Disappear before Mestrovic's answer can come? By morning, you know that if you leave, all your dreams of money, the inheritance, leaves with you. Your mind is tired from thinking and indecision. You have no answer, have you, Paul? By noon, you still have no answer, and then the phone startles you. But you manage to answer.
Yes, hello?
This is Miss Alden, Paul.
Oh, yes, Miss Alden. How are you?
I'd like you to come to the house, Paul, as soon as possible, if you will.
Why, yes, of course. Is something wrong?
I don't want to talk about it on the phone. Can you come here right away?
Of course, Miss Alden.
You're breathless when you arrive. Miss Alden takes you to her upstairs sitting room where she asks a question of her own.
Paul, who is Michael Dobovich?
So Don has told you. You can't believe him. It isn't true. I've done the work, Miss Alden. I've done it all. Michael is just what he seems to be. He's a student. Where is Don? I've
tried to locate Don. I don't know where he is right now. But he has told me nothing, Paul.
Yes, but then
this
how...
cablegram addressed to Don. I opened it. He's never received a cablegram before. I thought it might be important. It seems to be very important.
You don't understand, Miss Alden. You must let me...
I didn't understand any of it at first, Paul. I'm just beginning to realize. And it isn't easy to admit I've been a fool. But I have, haven't I?
Please, Miss Alden, you must believe me.
Paul, how can I? Your own first words when you came in told me the story. It had never even occurred to me that you were using Michael for...
What are you going to do, Miss Alden?
You haven't left me any choice, Paul. I'll change my will, of course. But...
Change your will?
Of course. Surely you don't expect
You're
me to...
not going to change that will, Miss Alden.
Paul, what are you going to do?
You're not going to get a chance to change that will, Miss Alden.
Martha Alden's will can't be changed now, can it, Paul? It's beyond the reach of any change. Yes. She met her death when you pushed her down the stairs. And her position will make her death appear to be an accident. You descend the stairs slowly. That's when you see the cablegram crumpled at her side. The cablegram from the great Mestrovic to Don Alden, stating that Michael Dobovich, your houseman, had been one of his prize students. Quickly you snatch it, and the bright flame of the library fireplace destroys it into meaningless ashes. You must continue to act quickly, Paul. You must get out of the house, and you must not be seen. You turn to go, and you hear voices. Someone is coming.
This won't take long, Michael. Don't worry about it.
But I don't understand. Why did you bring me here, Mr. Alden?
I just want to ask you some questions, Michael, and I want Aunt Martha to hear your answers.
Don with Michael. You whirl around. It's too late to reach the door without being seen. Quickly, you open the basement door, step inside, and hurry down into the musty darkness. You feel your way cautiously across the basement to the back door. You find it locked. You stop and listen to their footsteps overhead. Then you hear them move into the library. It's only a matter of minutes until they discover the body of Miss Martha Alden. Softly, you move up the stairs again. Open the door. You can hear them, but you don't dare run for the front door, do you, Paul?
Perhaps we should not disturb Miss Alden. I don't want to answer any questions.
The answers won't hurt you, Michael. I'm sure of that. Now, you just sit here. Aunt Martha and I'll be down in a minute.
Please, Mr. Alden, I don't like this. I have nothing to say, and Paul...
Don't worry about Paul. Mike? Quick, it's Aunt Martha.
Oh, is she...
She's dead.
Oh, no. No, I'm
Stay here, Michael.
No!
I've got to phone the doctor. Michael!
Michael seems to be running now, out of the house, Paul. And as Don hurries in the other direction to phone, the side door is free for your escape. You dash out into the winter darkness. Michael will be going home, and you must be there first, Paul. You race down the dimly lit street. Hail a taxi at the next boulevard. Nothing matters now, Paul, so much as beating Michael home. And you do it. You're stretched out reading when he enters and pours out the tragic story of finding Miss Alden's body. You stand up well under the shock, but Michael's overcome.
Poor Miss Alden. It was so terrible, Paul. And Mr. Alden, I'm so sorry.
I don't quite understand why you were with Don, Michael.
Well, I don't really know. He picked me up in his car and drove me straight there. He said there were questions. Paul, what will we do?
For now, I think we'll do nothing. Don's taking you there. It's so strange. That's it, Michael. We'll do nothing. We'll say nothing. We wouldn't want to get Don in any trouble.
You're still certain Miss Alden's death will be called an accident. But if it isn't, if it's called murder, you're sure that you can put the blame on Don. You'd enjoy that, wouldn't you, Paul? His taking Michael to the house will make it seem that Don Alden was badly in need of a witness to discover the body with him. That's quite a coincidence, isn't it? And there was a strong motive for Don, too. He could have killed his aunt to prevent her from changing her will to leave you half of her fortune, a substantial half that would have belonged to him. And best of all, no one knows that Miss Alden had told you she'd already changed her will. It's perfect for you, isn't it, Paul? It will seem that you had no motive whatever, that it was to your interest for Miss Alden to live. You turn on the radio to await developments an hour later.
Police have announced that the death of wealthy Miss Martha Alden, previously tabbed accidental, is now believed to be murder. Details are fragmentary, but the position of the body and identifying marks on the staircase have prompted police to begin questioning all concerned.
They call it murder now, Paul. They've been questioning everyone concerned, and they're making a sudden decision. Well, you've got to go to the police before they come to you. You have a story to tell them, haven't you, Paul? A story you're certain will convince them that you're innocent, and Don Alden is guilty of Martha Alden's murder. Reaching homicide, you stage a nice act. You came in the interest of justice, and the lieutenant seems interested.
That's why I came as soon as I heard, Lieutenant Hegstrom. I want to help all I can.
Thanks. You know Mr. Alden here, I suppose?
Don Alden. I'm glad you have him here, Lieutenant.
There's your man, Lieutenant. Paul Wilson.
Now, just a minute. I'll do all the accusing here. Either of you could have done it. Under the circumstances, I'm sure one of you did.
Now, look here, Lieutenant.
And now, just a minute. The more I look at this thing, the more I'm sure it's a matter of motive. Find the motive, and you find the man.
Don has all the motive in the world. He knew Miss Alden was going to change her will and leave me half of her estate. Before she could do it,
Is this true?
He told me so himself.
That's true.
You see, I had no motive at all. I had everything to gain by her living. She was planning to make me one of her heirs.
What about that, Mr. Alden?
Wilson had to kill her before she discovered he was a fraud. I had the evidence.
I'm not a fraud, and even if I were, what good would it have done me to kill Miss Alden? Her living would have given me exactly what her death gave you. Her money. Alden was there. He even took Michael along as a witness to help him discover the body. He had the motive. What more do you want, Lieutenant?
Not much. You know, Mr. Alden, if I were you, I'd be thinking up some answers for the DA.
While watching some Christmas shoppers the other day, I couldn't help feeling it's too bad folks aren't as careful in selecting their motor oil as they are in selecting Christmas gifts. If they were, a lot more drivers would switch to Signal Premium Compounded Motor Oil, the improved type oil that does so much more than just lubricate. You see, because Signal Premium combines scientific compounds with 100% pure paraffin base, it does things for your motor which the finest oil alone cannot do. One of these compounds, for instance, specifically prevents destructive corrosion inside your motor. Another compound in Signal Premium actually washes out harmful carbon. And still other compounds help in other important ways to keep wear down and performance up. So if you want to keep your motor young, get your next oil change at a Signal service station. Change to the improved type oil that does so much more than just lubricate. Signal Premium Compounded Motor Oil.
You're in the clear now, Paul. You're certain Lieutenant Hegstrom is convinced of Don's guilt. Find the motive, and you find the man. That's what he said, Paul. You're pleased, aren't you? And you know the story by heart that will convict Don as you tell it to the police stenographer for the permanent record. You've just finished and started to go when...
Just one more detail, Wilson. Come back a moment, will you?
Of course, Lieutenant. Glad to. Why, Michael.
Yes, Paul. Paul, I've been so worried about you.
Michael seems to be a very loyal servant, Wilson.
Yes. Yes, he is. You needn't have worried, Michael. I'm just fine.
No, but he has worried, Wilson. He's worried a great deal. He even thought we might be holding you for the murder. And he came here with something he says proves you couldn't have done it.
Well, that's very nice, I'm sure, but...
Go on, Michael. Tell him what you just told me.
Yes, sir. I told him you could not have done it, Paul. I told him you wouldn't have done it. How much you thought of Miss Alden after she'd been so kind. How she'd changed her will, left you half of her money.
But, Michael, how did...
Go on, Michael. Tell Wilson how you knew Miss Alden had already changed her will.
You remember, Paul? You told me not ever to burst in on you when you had guests. So that day Miss Alden came to see you, I waited outside the room. I did not burst in, but I couldn't help hearing her tell you she changed her will that afternoon to give you half her money. Paul? Paul? Have I done something wrong?
I'll answer that, Michael. You've done something right. Alden told the truth. He's the one without a motive. You lied, Wilson. You had the motive.
But, Lieutenant,
You knew Miss Alden had already put you into her will. You killed her to keep her from cutting out of your will, out of your inheritance. Like I said, find the motive, and you'll find the murderer.
Let that whistle be your signal for the Signal Oil program, The Whistler, each Sunday night at this same time. Brought to you by the Signal Oil Company, marketers of Signal gasoline and motor oil and fine automotive accessories. Remember, if you would like the fun of having your friends hear a limerick of yours on The Whistler, the address to which to send it is the Signal Oil Company, Los Angeles 55, California. All limericks become the property of the Signal Oil Company. Those selected for use on The Whistler will be chosen by our advertising representatives on the basis of humor, suitability, and originality. So, of course, they must be your own composition. Featured in tonight's story were John Hoyt, Paul Avery, Gloria Gordon, and Paul Frees. The Whistler was produced and directed by George W. Allen, with story by David Ross, music by Wilbur Hatch, and was transmitted to our troops overseas by the Armed Forces Radio Service. The Whistler is entirely fictional, and all characters portrayed on The Whistler are also fictional. Any similarity of names or resemblance to persons living or dead is purely coincidental. Remember at this same time next Sunday, another strange tale by The Whistler.
S-I-G-N-A-L Signal gasoline.
Marvin Miller speaking for the Signal Oil Company. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Just walk right over to this microphone. Matinee with Bob and Ray. Good afternoon, friends, and welcome to another in our long series of public service programs presented by nobody in particular, just a few casual sponsors who are nice people and who have nice products to sell. And that's what we're here for, to sell these nice products to nice people. At a reasonable figure, of course. Certainly. Wilson, the great Wilson, is at the organ. And Bill gets stop it. Boy, they're going forever, I guess. Stop the music! Wow! I never thought you'd get there, man.
That's that crisp, cool November air that's gotten into our musicians.
But you had me right up on the edge of the chair while I was listening to that.
I'm very disappointed, Bill. I thought you weren't going to be here today.
Well, how's that?
He was going to play for some luncheon. Did it fall through? And they didn't have it? They wanted a good piano player, huh? So you're here.
No, so we can't say that about Bill Green to be truthful.
No, because he is one of the top piano players in the city of Boston.
He is. He's a marvelous piano player. Take a bow. Put the cameras on Bill.
All right, will you bend over and take a bow, Bill? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to suggest that. Oh, you shouldn't have had that microphone so close to Green.
The great Wilson is, of course, perfection personified.
He's who?
I say he's perfection personified.
Oh, he is?
When we speak of the great Wilson...
How long has he been suffering from that?
It's not a disease, Bob. Oh. It's just time.
Sounds like some rare tropical disease, perfection personified.
Sounds like a back injury. A little, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
Yeah, perfection personified. Down here, doctor.
Something along the spine there.
Yeah. Something like that, anyway.
Something like that. We don't know just what. Big news coming up next week on this program.
Great big news.
Big news. News that you can't afford to miss, so be sure and listen.
Terrifically tasty.
Deliciously crunchy.
You'll like it.
Oh, baby, will you?
Yes, sir. Baby, it's cold outside.
We don't have that. I had that at 8 o'clock this morning, neutral. And for the first time since we've had the commercial, it's been... I don't like that contract. Take it away. It was really cool.
Nothing written in those blank lines. That's what I don't like about it.
He fills that in later,
I know. So much writing there, too. So much whereas and therefore.
Enough Falderall for now.
Falderall. F-A-L-D-E capital S. Falderall.
Oh, this wasn't the spelling.
F-A... What?
No, this wasn't the spelling bee. We were going to get over and find out what happened when that automobile ran over the cliff outside Linda's house.
You mean...
Right. Haven't. Oh, she isn't here today. The Life and Loves of Linda Lovely, written for radio by A. Carrington Lupton, starring Marcia Van Alshot as Linda, Sherman L. Sturdley as David. Yesterday we learned that Grace and Charlie, on their return from New York, had phoned cross town in River's Mouth to Linda's small but attractive house.
Neat but tidy.
The phone rang, and Linda raced across the bearskin rug, picked the receiver up, and said into the mouthpiece, "Hello."
Oh, no.
I can't. It's a few hours later now, and Linda, having recovered, is seated on the divan.
Oh, David, the funniest phone call this morning.
Who was it, Linda?
Lawyer Tucker.
Lawyer Tucker?
Yes, he called and said that everything was going to be grand.
That we would have Skipper back in our midst again? Again?
Yes, David. And also he said that it looks like Uncle Will's will is all ours.
Uncle Will's willing to will his will to us?
That's what he says. I'm so sure, David, I could eat marshmallows.
kids got any marshmallows downstairs there?
Hello, Uncle Eugene.
Hello, Uncle Eugene, up there, stairs.
Come on
Upstairs
downstairs.
there. I'm upstairs here eating marshmallows.
Come on downstairs.
Here, I'll throw one down to you.
Wonderful.
They kind of bounced a little bit, I guess.
But you've had them in the
Here, I'll throw
sunlight.
another one down. Get out of the way.
We interrupt this program to bring you a very special bulletin. To you, Bob, this bulletin.
What's it say?
Stop that nonsense.
Okay.
When you throw a marshmallow, it makes no noise when it lands. You know that...
Well, I'll throw another one down then.
All right.
Hey, by the way,
Yes?
is Uncle Eugene down there?
Your Uncle Eugene.
No, I'm the other uncle, and I can't think of his name right now either.
Not Earl.
Uncle...
Earl?
Wait a minute, Uncle Earl. Can't quite remember.
Gee, I wish not. That's all I can say. That Uncle Earl and Uncle Eugene just kills me.
Doesn't look like much is going to happen there anyway today.
No.
I thought we might hear more about that automobile crash, but...
Incidentally,
no such
Bob,
luck.
tomorrow let's read out Uncle Earl and Uncle Eugene. They're much too confusing. I can tolerate one of them, but I can't stand both of them.
Well, they do sound a lot alike.
Or if we have one of them, just one at a time.
Just remember, we're giving two actors work. We're feeding two mouths.
We're not really, Bob. You know that.
Well, I like to think that way.
Well, you shouldn't...
I like to think that we're the most generous program in radio.
You what?
I like to think we're the most generous program in radio.
Well, I can't think of any that's more generous. To be frank with
This
you.
is certainly the longest 15 minutes in radio.
After all, we give of our time. And we have wonderful products that we offer for sale.
We work down our cellar every night on our offers that we send out.
And all these little gimmicks that we...
We devote freely of our time.
We do. I mean, we're tickled to death to be here for this half hour.
And we know you're tickled to death to have us there, or to be there and have us here.
What is it you want to say, Bob? I'd like to talk now briefly about Chesterfield cigarettes before we even hear it.
Wait a minute, Radel. I tune up my hound dog guitar, please.
As you all know, more and more people are smoking nowadays.
Give me an A there, Bill, please.
And so long as you're going to smoke,
wait a minute.
why don't you smoke Chesterfield?
Try an E there.
First of all, they're made from nice tobacco.
Let me have a high E
They're
there.
brown, it's brown kind of, and some are light brown, some are
That's
dark
better.
brown. But it's tobacco and it's good.
I think I'm all set. Wait
the
till I hit
paper,
a C7th chord.
the paper is white. And something nice about it, and the printing of Chesterfield is different. It's big
Yeah, that'll
C,
do it, I think.
big capital C, and has a flowing line, and then
I hope none of the local announcers jump in when I do that.
H-E-S-T-E-R-F-I-E-L-D. The Chesterfield is written along
Yeah,
inside.
I'm all ready now, yep. Okay,
And,
Ray, thanks for filling that time. I'm ready to go.
I'm talking.
All right, go ahead and finish it up fast, because I got to get out of here.
Remember, friends, if you're going to smoke Chesterfield. You'll be glad for the tip.
Now I'll sing, right?
All right.
Chesterfield satisfy when in and then. Chesterfield's over and over again. Milder, much milder, all smokers agree. Always buy Chesterfield's ABC.
Hello there, Mary dear.
Hello. Hello, Tex, darling.
I'm glad you showed up today because this is going to be a big day for the two of us.
Well, yes, it is in a small sort of way. It's big a little,
I see.
so to speak.
You don't want to clarify that anymore,
About
huh?
the best I can do. It's
Well,
a big
I-
day in a little way.
Just want to say that Mary and I are close friends.
Yes, we are, and I want to talk to all my dear lady listeners. Hello there.
What do you want to talk about? Anything
Food,
special? Food?
and how to eat.
Well, I think they know how to eat. pretty
Well, I know that, Bob, but I mean serving the right things and what instruments to use. So many people write in to say, is it permissible now to just eat spaghetti any old way, just so long as you get it in your mouth?
And the answer is?
Definitely. We're getting away from that wrapping it around a fork or spoon.
Well, I've
Junior's
noticed
head.
that. I've had spaghetti several
Did
times.
you hear me say
Yes,
wrapping it
but
around
Junior's
Junior's head?
I've had spaghetti several times.
What, Bob?
Several times with Charlie lately.
Yeah, I don't mind eating spaghetti alone, but if I have to sit opposite somebody and watch them eat it, I get so discouraged.
I know it. It doesn't seem as though you get anywhere with it.
No, that's it exactly, Bob. So when I eat spaghetti, I like to have my back to the door
Mm-hmm.
and just eat it alone with the wall facing me.
What kind of sauce do you recommend?
Argyle sock sauce, of course.
For spaghetti? I thought that was for the half-baked Indian
I
pudding.
use it everywhere, Bob.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
crazy about it. I'm adding olives now and cracked nuts.
Mm-hmm. Well, that should make quite an interesting combination, I should think.
It's nice, and it gives it a little zip. However, of course, meatball and meatball sauce is still the approved
That is
spaghetti
the better
sauce.
way. That's the way we get it every week.
Yeah. Do you have it every week, Bob?
Now I see your time is up, and thanks for coming up
You mean I can't say anything else?
No, you see, we've just received a memo from the production department saying that we can't run any feature longer than 3 minutes.
Well, what do you mean?
Because the show has got to roll
I'm just up here talking to you two men.
Well, I know, but...
Particularly Mr. Goulding, who's my favorite. He's so good-looking.
He is. Nice.
Oh, cut it out, Mary. He always does that to me.
But be that as it may,
and it isn't true. I'm just handsome. I'm not the best-looking fella. I can think of 2 or 3 fellas better looking.
Well, Mary doesn't seem to think so.
No, definitely not. I'd like to see Ray in the movies, Bob.
Mm-hmm. He was at the movies the other night.
I mean out in California.
Oh, I see.
Making nice movies.
Mm-hmm. Maybe you could make a Western or something.
As a matter of fact, they wanted me to portray Flicker in her latest movie.
What's the name of that picture?
Lassie, son of Sturtley.
Go home.
Yes.
Well, when can we look for the release of this, anyway?
Well, excuse me, the telephone. Hello? Yes. What's that again, please? I'm afraid I wasn't listening to the program. I'd have to guess. The Mystery Mountain, Columbia, the gem of the ocean. All right, thanks for calling, sir. Too bad I didn't have the right answer. Hung up the phone. Okay, well, then I'll get right to work on that.
I hung up.
Oh.
I'll tell her you called.
Bye.
Bye.
He evidently didn't hear you say goodbye and hang up.
Nothing about this phone, Bob. Whenever you hang it up, the connection doesn't necessarily go off.
And we've never made any money on this telephone. We've never received a call from any of those big programs.
I thought for a minute that was.
I did for a minute.
But it was a bill collector, as it later developed. Incidentally, speaking of bill collectors, we'd like to turn to our men of music. And the great Wilson is at the console. For those of you who have forgotten his first name, again, I'll repeat it. Just once. Kenneth,
but we don't call him that anymore.
He's just the Great Wilson.
He's either the Great Wilson or KL.
Or Hey You.
Yeah. And they have a wonderful old melody. Gold in his band with I'm going to wash that man right out of my hair.
We have declared war on the common cold up here at the Bob and Ray program because too many people have colds. Everyone in my family has it. My mother and father-in-law came to visit us, and they both have a cold now. We had turkey for dinner last night, and the turkey came to the table sneezing. So I thought it was time. I thought it was time that we stop all this nonsense and fight the common cold. So we take it out of the Bob and Ray laboratory where they're fighting the common cold. Common cold is wearing purple pumps. Bob and Ray are wearing green pumps.
Say, Ray.
Yes.
How are we coming in our fight against the common cold here?
Well, I don't know.
Pass me that Kleenex over there, will you, please?
I think that we've separated the germ.
Wait till I turn this machine off here.
Turn it off.
Boy, that machine is really rolling.
I think now that we have...
Wait a minute, I didn't turn it all the way
Turn off the machine, please.
Turn off the machine, please.
Good. I think now that
Wait a minute. Oh.
Separated the common cold disease. Now we can fight
Now
it.
we got it separated. What are we going to... I'll tell you what, I think we've been fighting this common cold for 6 weeks now.
Huh?
Now.
That's right.
And we haven't proceeded very far, have we?
I don't have any suggestions either.
No, I don't either.
I think that the only way to fight a cold would be to separate the thing and see what would kill it.
But to keep away from the cold germs once we do separate.
The only way that we can kill this cold germ is step on it. And we certainly can't walk around this whole world stepping on cold germs, so we're going to have to ask everyone to pitch into this town.
We could get out of here fast and step on it.
So if you ever see a cold germ,
there's one over there.
Step on it.
He's a creepy little thing.
The only way we can fight and lick this thing.
Right.
Thank you. Good night.
Everything is okay down here.
That part of our broadcast came to you from Harvard.
That was our technical forum for this afternoon. It's 1:16.
The script was written by President Coder.
Just a few seconds. Our other stations will join us along the line. One moment, please.
No, I don't like that one moment, please.
You don't like that
on the radio? When they say one moment, please, I always say, no, I will not wait.
But you always do.
No, I don't. Doesn't matter. I get up and walk out. I wait till something is coming out. I never say, settle back and say, well, okay, if things have gone wrong, I'll sit with you and wait. No, sir.
We will continue our program in just a few seconds. One moment, please.
No, I never do. Our lines are down west of Denver. I haven't heard that for so long.
No, or I haven't heard one of those things where they have trouble and they cut in on some phone conversation in the middle of a program. Those are always fun.
Those are fun and sometimes disastrous.
They are, that's that.
But I haven't heard that west of Denver phrase for so long.
I wonder if there's anything west of Denver anymore.
Not any lines, evidently. I don't know how they get the radio programs from Hollywood to Denver.
Maybe they fly them over. You can't tell.
Or putting them on tape. That's what they're doing.
They might tape them.
Yes, that's what they're doing. They're putting them on tape and flying them to Denver, where they're transmitted to the rest of lucky America.
Right. I see our English band leader is with us again today. I didn't realize he was here. Wait, I'll go over and get him.
Yes, you. Oh, Bob.
Oh, no, that's
Webley.
You
were talking to me?
No, I wasn't, Webley, but I'm glad to see
I'm a band leader, but...
Hey, what's all this all this I hear about
Whoa,
wanting Ray and me in Canton next February?
What?
They want Ray and myself in Canton next February. Do you know anything about
it? They haven't consulted me, and I'm your representative
the
down
Canton Civic Association.
They know me as the Bob and Ray representative. It's funny they didn't call me over
my
place.
Well, I thought they would, because you're down there all the time.
All the time, Bob.
Everybody knows you, don't they?
Sure do. Yes,
Oh, it's funny they checked with us first.
What they?
They checked with us first on this thing.
What'd they say, Bob? They say who they was?
Yeah, they said they were the Canton Civic Association, I think.
Don't believe them. I'm the Canton Civic Association.
There's
no other one. I admit.
They seem to be legitimate.
Everything is cleared with me. If somebody called you and said they were the Canton Civic Association, chances are they were calling from Dover Foxcroft Maine. Don't believe them.
Well, they may have made a mistake.
Good night.
Boy, you've really got out.
That made me mad.
You've got out
right back to Canton and raise hob.
Okay.
Didn't have much luck with corn.
Okay, well...
That was a little joke, you hear?
Sure.
I'll say it again. I said go back and raise hob. I didn't have much luck with corn.
Okay. You did hear it the first time.
I heard it too, Webley. So long.
Yeah, your bicycle was right outside.
Good luck, Steve.
But anyway, do you want to introduce Cyril Hardy?
Yes,
right out
we've gone to practically no expense at all. In fact, we didn't even spend anything to present this afternoon's guest. Sir Cyril Hardy, the well-known British band leader who has returned to America by very popular demand of the British. And he's here today to tell us just what he's doing in America and how he got away with it.
We over there are working on a new thing in music, something which I believe has a field which could be popular over here if you catch on to it.
Yes, I was talking with Basil Bathbone just this morning.
Right, Basil has been very, very helpful in this particular work that we're doing.
I see. Oh.
We have arranged music somewhat differently. We've taken the old standbys like Brown Bird Singing and a few of your current favorites like Darling Nellie Gray.
Here Barrel Polka.
Right, and we've worked them up into some really terrific arrangements.
Well, just what is it you're trying to do? I mean, have you completely eliminated the piano from your band?
The piano is secondary to our music in our work.
Certainly.
However,
I see more and more bands are eliminating the piano.
Right, just the other day I heard that John Philip Sousa has eliminated the piano completely from his band.
The band would have been a good idea,
anymore. Now, in our particular work, we're trying to score for oboe, clarinet, French horn.
Incidentally, Francis, score, oboe 14, clarinet 2.
And bassoon.
How dare you?
I wasn't.
You speak to me like that. Remember, you're a guest.
I wasn't
you
being.
can't keep a civil tongue in your head.
I wasn't being personal about it. I wasn't looking at you at all.
Oh.
At all. I like that. I wasn't looking at you at all. Well, anyway, to go on with my story, back in 1909, we conceived the idea of presenting music of this sort.
Mm-hmm.
And we worked on it. We presented it to the people of Britain just a short time ago.
Question, sir. Sir Cyril, is it true that you're trying to paint pictures with your
We
music?
try to paint pretty pictures, yes.
I understand.
Well, try to make tone poems out of
I see. Well, of course, you were born and brought up in England.
No, it's a funny thing. I wasn't.
Oh, you weren't
no.
born in England?
And very few people know this. Smoking those English cigarettes. Very few people know that I was actually born right
I'll
here.
down and get you something. Glass of formaldehyde.
Right. I was born right here in the States, as a matter of fact.
You mean in America?
That's right. Brooklyn, New York.
Is that?
Right.
Oh, zero. Wow. What do you know about that?
I've spent some very pleasant times here, too, before leaving for England.
I see.
Where we've been very serious in this music work.
Well, of course, where did you go? When you were a child, that you
No.
been there for years? Or?
No, very few people know that, too. As I say, I was born in Brooklyn. I left there, I believe it was October 8th. And we hit out for England from Brooklyn at that time. Prior to that time, I had never been in the British Isles at all.
October 8th. October 8th when?
This year. Just about, a little over a month ago.
Oh, Sister
And we
Earl.
presented our music to the people over there.
Sister Earl, I think you've been wonderful to come and give it
They
your
seem
time.
to enjoy it quite a bit, and I hope to introduce it to my friends here in America.
Oh,
quite
get
soon.
lost. You're a phony. As we're looking on...
finally remembered it.
On Peephole, he's walking through...
I was climbing up the ring
No.
after the big top.
No, you weren't. Peephole is walking through the Casbah in search of his missing friend, Popey.
I wonder where Popey is. I wonder if he knows Peephole is looking for Popey. Oh, Popey. I'll call out to him. Maybe he will answer me. Here, I'll speak to this vendor over here. Oh, vendor.
Yes?
Wait a minute. Vendors don't talk. Oh.
How'd I get a pot like that?
Wait a minute. I'll speak to this man sitting on the curbstone here. I say.
You say what?
I'll give you your cue again. I'll move over here and speak to this man sitting on the curb. I say.
How do you do?
I'd better move along here, I think, in search of Popey.
Here I am, Peephole.
Oh, Popey, it is me, Peephole.
Hi, Popey. I'm your old friend, Bo Peep. Popey, Peephole.
Don't spell it. I remember you
Call
from...
me Steve.
I remember you from the old days here in the Casbah, but times have
Peephole.
changed.
Oh, Peephole, it's so good to see you, hey.
No more do you see Charlie Boyer.
No, I'm out of that camel rustling racket.
No more do you see Tony Martin.
Huh?
I say no more do you see Tony Martin.
No, I thought.
Nowadays, you just go up to people who are complete strangers and say hello, and they say...
Sizzling steak sounds appetizing, but better still, a full pound thick, juicy steak.
Well, I guess I'd better be going. I see you've got something else to do
We
there.
have a commercial now. Thanks, Peephole. Give my regards to all four of you.
Pip, pip.
Sizzling steak sounds appetizing, doesn't it? But better still, a full pound thick, juicy, sizzling sirloin steak just makes your mouth water. And you'd be surprised how much money the Park Lane saves on water in the course of a year. The Park Lane will stake its reputation on these full pound...
That's a unique play on words there, friends. They're staking their reputation on their estate. I wanted to make that clear.
Well, the listeners could gather that.
Oh.
You didn't have to make footnotes for radio listeners, you know.
Well, I thought it would add something. They've never done that before.
Some of them a little more brilliant than you.
Oh, now, wait a minute.
Oh, I guess I'm a little rocky there. That couldn't be possible.
You're going a little far, aren't you?
The park... Well, I'm only going out as far as Kenmore Square.
Well, I'll get off at Beacon Street.
The Park Lane will stake its reputation on these full-pound, sizzling sirloin steaks. You won't find better at any price, yet the cost, including French fries, vegetables, rolls, and butter...
And the service of a waiter.
Tres,
Waitress, yeah.
is only $2. The Park Lane has become a rendezvous for folks who enjoy good eating. Conveniently located at 214 Boylston Street, across from the Public Garden, it's handy to stop in for cocktails. Then a delicious dinner, a choice of chicken, chops, lobster, peanut butter, or, if preferred, steak. Soft music and pleasant atmosphere. Beautiful soft music. Price down a stall?
Yeah?
Thanks. Man, I could sit and eat a steak here forever. Peaceful and quiet.
Hold the startling.
One piece of carrot. You want any strawberry with that short cake?
I can't hear you.
Shorty, do you want long cake?
I'll bring you a piece of carrots mixed in just a minute. But
What more for a delightful evening?
beautiful waitresses.
Hey, young men, take the young lady of your heart to the beautiful Park Lane. She'll marry you.
Oh, we don't guarantee that.
Sizzling steaks please the palate at the Park Lane. But don't forget it, friends, when you want a steak, the best that can be bought anywhere east of Kansas City, stop in, and I think probably west of
Unless you
Kansas
want to
City.
go right out to the stockyards yourself.
If you want to go right out there and cut up your own steak,
Right.
then you'll have to settle, and believe me, it's nice settling for the beautiful $2, $1 pound, the sizzling
The
smell of
steak at the
sandwich.
Park Lane.
Grilled or toasted.
And remember, this is convenient for you swan boat riders. It's right across from the Public Garden.
Incidentally, nothing is convenient for you swan boat riders. The water is out of there.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That'll be a rough trip, anyway.
Certainly will, and you better have some strong oarmen. But be that as it may, friends, it brings very, very clear to my mind
makes
that
it
it's
very
time
vivid.
now for the world to stand united.
And it's even more vivid when viewed in natural colors.
So if I can leave you with any thought at all today, it's to keep thinking, for goodness sakes.
Keep your brain alive.
Don't
For goodness
stop
sake.
thinking. Keep alert and watch for things.
And so with our theme on the banks of the Wabash, we say goodbye again from the Twin Cities, Boston.
The great Wilson was again at the organ. And
Tomorrow, Mr. Wilson will be shot from a cannon at high noon.
Billy Green was at the piano playing like he can never play.
Tomorrow, Mr. Green will be shot at high noon.
Good. A public subscription to that. Charlie Burgoyne, of course, was our grand and personable engineer.
Caution, any other program called Bob and Ray is not this one.
Also, caution, see a dentist twice a year, particularly if you owe him loose. This is a radio station located in Boston, one of the county seats. Oh, sure, WACH in Boston. So what's new about that? Thanks.
Hello, Yukon 28209. Yes, this is Candy Matson.
The National Broadcasting Company presents Candy Matson, Yukon 28209.
Candy, over here.
What? Why, Myra Fisher. What are you doing here in a department store with your work clothes on?
I work here, dear. I'm a wage slave.
Well, I must say on you it looks good. What do you slave at?
I'm head of advertising and promotion.
Well, quite a spot, hey, girl.
Well, it was until this morning.
Oh?
Now my neck is in the fire.
What'd you do? Forget to proofread one of your ads?
Nothing so trivial, dear, believe me. But am I glad to have bumped into you?
Maybe you'll change your mind when I tell you I've been shoplifting.
No, I'm serious, Candy. Could you spare a moment and come on up to my office?
Why, sure. And wipe that frown from off your brow. It's wrinkling your makeup.
Well, yours would wrinkle, too, if you had a missing Santa Claus helper on your hands.
Well, now, there's a situation. And it almost broke Candy Matson's heart when someone told her there was no Santa Claus's helper, one Jack Frost. Listen, here she is now to tell you about it.
That's right, what the man said. I ran into a deal where we had a missing Santa Claus helper, Jack Frost. The gent with the icicles was supposed to talk to the tiny tots at the Brownstone, one of San Francisco's larger and classier department stores. I'd gone down there that afternoon shopping. I wanted a bow tie for my old pal Inspector Ray Mallard of the San Francisco Police Department. A bow tie that lit up and spelled Cossack when you pressed the button on the battery. That was when I bumped into this gal, Myra Fisher. We went up to her office on the 6th floor, and she sat me down. Cigaretted me, too.
You think I'm fooling about this Jack Frost thing, don't you, Candy?
Well, now, look, dear, we all have our little peccadillos. Yours just merely happens to be a missing Jack Frost. You'll get over it.
I refrain from hurling this ashtray at you, Candy, only because of our long acquaintance.
Good.
Now listen to me. We've had a Santa Claus helper here for almost a month, and a darn good one. The kids were crazy about him. This morning, he didn't show.
You don't suppose Jackie boy got in the mood and caught the Christmas spirit, do you? The kind that comes in pints?
No, he wasn't that sort of Joe.
Well, your answer's simple. Hire a new one.
They're hired through an agency. I called the one we do business with, and they're fresh out of Jack Frost. And I've got to get one, Candy. Otherwise, I come down 10 notches in the opinion of the brass.
I don't want you to think I'm unsympathetic, Myra, but what can I do?
When you get around, you know people. Find me somebody, anybody, who'll take over the job of being Jack Frost.
Well, okay. I'll do the best I can, Myra.
Candy, you're a dear.
Yeah, one of Santa's dears. Okay, I'll try and find you a Jack Frost, Myra, but don't hold it against me if he turns out to look more like Humpty Dumpty. I went home and looked up the Webster definition of soft. It said soft, easily yielding to pressure. That was me, Candy Matson, girl dope. Here I had all my Christmas shopping to do, and I agreed to find a substitute for Jack Frost. I had no idea where to start. So I changed into something red and green for a stop and go, also for Christmas, and went over to see my friendly advisor, Rembrandt Watson. Rembrandt is a photographer, and excellent, too, now that he doesn't have the sherry shivers or the pork palsies. He lives on California Street, just kidding around for some old St. Mary's, with a statue of Sun Yat-sen for company in a park next door.
Candy doll, how delightful. Do come in, won't you?
Thanks, Rembrandt.
Oh, Pat, you're acquainted with my friend Diogenes Murphy, aren't you?
Oh, yes. Hello again, Mr. Murphy.
Well, good afternoon, lad. You look prettier than you did the last time I saw you.
Uh-oh, here comes the blarney.
Young lady, Diogenes Murphy, the honest Irishman, never says a word he doesn't mean. Now, how do you think I managed to sell so many used cars at my place out on Van Ness Avenue?
Because you're an honest Irishman.
Oh, you're so right, lad. Incidentally, if you need a good car, I can get you one at a very reasonable... Diogenes? Oh, sorry, I got carried away.
I didn't mean to barge in on you like this, Rembrandt.
Oh, don't be ridiculous, dear. No, don't be. Think nothing of it, lad. I'm on my way now. Rembrandt and I were only discussing the situation of the world.
And to what conclusion did you come?
It stinks. The bottom of the afternoon to the both of you.
Oh, he's quite a boy.
Yes, I'm very fond of Diogenes. What brings you around this way, dear?
Jack Frost.
Yes. Now, getting on with our conversation, what brings you around this way, dear?
Jack Frost.
Maybe the needle's bad. Shall we try again?
I know how you feel. I reacted the same way myself. I'll give you the pocket-sized edition. The Brownstone department store is without a Santa Claus helper, Jack Frost. He didn't show up for work this morning. I said I'd find him a new one.
Oh, that's very sweet of you, Dove.
Very dumb of me, Dove. I know of only one character who even remotely looks like Jack Frost. I met him up in Alaska when I was traveling with the USO.
Won't do you much good down here, will it?
No. That's why I came to see you, Rembrandt. Don't you keep a cross file on models you've used in photography?
As a matter of fact, I do. Here in this little book. Let's see. Men, thin, extremely. I have just one, Pietro Tarantello. Would you care for a Sicilian Jack Frost?
In Sicily, yes. Hey, what's that?
Where?
On that chair next to you.
Oh, that's the afternoon paper, dear. Diogenes left it, I imagine.
Yes, but on the front page. Here's the whole story about the missing Jack Frost on the front page. Ooh, what he got in his Christmas stocking. A slug through the head.
That's no way to treat Jack Frost.
And here's a picture of the guy without his false icicles.
What the ham? Looks like he stepped right out of an 1890 Shakespearean play.
I hate to say this, Rembrandt, but he resembles you.
I take back what I said.
Rembrandt.
Divorce yourself from that tone of voice, Candy. I don't like it.
Rembrandt, I've got an idea.
You usually do.
You like little children.
Can't stand them.
You like to talk to people.
I abhor conversation.
You like to be charming.
Lost me charm.
Gay.
Lost me gay.
With the help of a few icicles, Ducky, you're going to be Jack Frost. Rembrandt fought, he argued, he paced the floor, he had the vapors, he fainted. I brought him to. I won the argument. I got my friend Myra Fisher on the phone and informed her that one R. Watson would assume the role of Jolly Jack Frost on the morrow. She was delighted. I couldn't say the same for Rembrandt. Then I went home. I was greeted by a sound very much like that of a phone ringing. Using my keen instincts, I figured it was the phone. It was. Hello, Candy Matson.
How do you do, Miss Matson? Allow me to introduce myself.
Allowed.
My name is Burke, Prentice Burke. I'm the first assistant vice president of the Brownstone.
Brownstone. Oh, yes, that's a store of some kind, isn't it?
Yes. Now, the reason for my call. There has been, shall I say, a rather unfortunate occurrence in our store today.
So I read.
I need the help of a professional sleuth. You were highly recommended by the head of our advertising department, Miss Myra Fisher.
Aha, the thick plotting.
I beg your pardon.
Oh, no need to. You didn't do anything. Okay, care to talk to me now, Mr. Burke?
I'd much rather have you come down to my office, Miss Matson. This matter is of an extremely confidential nature.
I'm your girl, then, figuratively speaking. How long will you be there?
As long as necessary. That's up to you.
Very well, I'll be there in half an hour if I can find a place to park. I only had time for a fast change, so I made it from Andescray to Taboo. I sniffed at it and felt I was on the right scent. Then I climbed in my car, drove down Kearny Street, waved a crisp single under the nose of a hotel doorman, and had my car taken care of. Then into the Brownstone and up to Mr. Prentice Burke's office. I flipped a hip past the girl's secretary and walked on in. Burke was waiting for me. That was obvious. I could tell by the expression on his face. It was worried look number 12B. How do you do, Mr. Burke? I'm Candy Matson.
Sit down, won't you?
Thank you. Now, our subject is what?
A man named Jordan.
That's on another network.
I beg your pardon?
Oh, that's all right. Now about this Jordan.
Yes, Ralph Jordan, to be exact.
Well, that's a relief. For a moment, I thought you wanted to talk about Jack Frost.
That's just it. He was Jack Frost.
Oh, me and my big mouth.
He was working here up until yesterday afternoon. Maybe you read about it. He was found shot today.
Yes, I read about it.
That's the reason I've called you.
Why didn't you have your own store detectives take over, Mr. Burke?
No. That would never do. I want no one in the store to know what's going on.
Intrigue.
Quite possibly. I have reason to suspect that Jordan was killed by someone in our employ. I want to find out who that someone was before the police do and get it splashed all over the front pages.
Publicity conscious, eh?
Business has been off all year, and any bad breaks in the press would hurt us that much more.
Maybe you've got a point there, I don't know.
I know I have.
Okay, I'll take the job. You say you have a suspicion. What is it?
Well, nothing tangible. It's just a feeling I have.
Oh, that's a big help. Well, I'll mush around and see what I can pick up. I'll bill you tomorrow for my first day's work. It's much easier to sustain a friendship on a daily basis. I left Burke looking as though someone had just called his store a bazaar. It was closing time, so I hefted my way through the crush and retrieved my car from the doorman. The Hall of Justice is right on my way home, so I decided to drop in on my old pal Mallard, Inspector Ray Mallard of San Francisco Homicide. A nice guy to serve coffee to on Sunday mornings if you could ever lasso him. I never could get strong enough rope.
Candy, what brings you around here?
I hate to have my Christmas ruined so early. What about that Jack Frost character?
Oh, yeah. Poor guy got it good.
Where'd you find him?
In his apartment over on 17th. He lived near Seal Stadium. Why so interested, Candy?
Rembrandt's a dead ringer for the guy.
I still don't get
the gal who's head of advertising for the Brownstone was going out of her head for another Jack Frost. I talked Rembrandt into taking the job. Does sound funny, doesn't it? Bring me up to date, Mally. Did you get any dope on the killing?
Nothing but a .45 slug out of the guy's wall. Ballistics is checking it now.
Nothing else?
If I did, I should tell you.
No, I guess not.
This goes beyond just a normal curiosity, Candy. What are you drilling for?
Oh, it's only that I'm worried about Rembrandt. I got him the job. I'm responsible. I wouldn't want anything to happen to him.
Ask a silly question, Mallard, and you get a silly answer. Okay, let's forget it. How's about dinner tonight?
I've fought this thing long enough. Okay.
Candy.
Yes, Mallard.
We've known each other a good long time, haven't we?
That's right. Ever since the fair on Treasure Island.
We've had our little quarrels, little misunderstandings.
Oh, but they never seem to last long, though, do they?
No. That's why I feel I have every right to ask you a question.
Wait, yes, I'd say you do, Mallard.
Maybe I'll ask you tonight.
No, go ahead. Now's as good a time as any.
Perhaps it is, Candy. You get around a lot. You meet people. Do you know where I can get a couple of tickets to the Rose Bowl game?
My brain lit up like a Roman candle. I stormed for the door, turned back, stood there, my jaw waggling helplessly. Then I stuck my tongue out at Mallard and left. It was the only thing I could think of doing. Oh, he can make me so mad. But inside half an hour after I got home, I started to laugh. Felt much better. Just as I was puttering around getting ready, the apartment buzzer buzzed. That Mallard, much too early. But I was wrong. It wasn't Mallard. Well, Myra, what a surprise. Do come in, won't you?
No, thanks, Candy. A friend of mine's waiting in his car outside. He's driving me home.
Oh, I'm sorry. You can't stay for a moment?
So, my dear, I just dropped by to leave this. Merely a little token of thanks for getting me off the hook.
Oh, Myra, there wasn't any need to do that.
Just a few pair of old stockings, dear. Getting me my new Jack Frost means more than you know. Here, please take them, along with my very deepest thanks.
Oh, thanks so much. A girl can always use them. Are you all set with my friend, Mr. Watson?
Oh, yes. He came in this afternoon and filled out his withholding tax and so on. Very nice.
I think you'll find him very efficient, Myra.
Oh,
what's the matter?
Pardon me. I didn't mean to frighten you.
Oh, Mallard.
Silly of me. I must have jumped a foot.
Oh, that's all right. He frightens me, too. Myra, I'd like to have you meet Inspector Mallard. Inspector, Miss Fisher.
How do you do?
Oh, fine, thank you, now that I've caught my breath. Do forgive me, Candy, but I must rush. See you soon, I hope.
Tomorrow, Myra, I'll be down to see how my lad's doing as Jack Frost. Thanks for the stockings.
Well, aren't you going to invite me in?
No, I'm not. Here's my coat right here. What's our hurry? Come on, let's go. I'm starved.
I thought we could have a cocktail here before we left.
You thought wrong. 2 tickets to the Rose Bowl. From now on, you earn your cocktails, Mallard. We went downstairs, and as I locked the front door, a car was just driving off. It was Myra, and she waved. And driving, if these tired old eyes hadn't deceived me, was Mr. Prentice Burke, Vice President of the Brownstone. Well. Oh, well. Mallard and I climbed into our car and drove out to the Cliff House. It was that kind of an evening. We had dinner, and after I suggested we walk a bit. The night was crisp and clear, and the evening star was hanging out above the dark waters of the Pacific like an iridescent Japanese lantern. We cut across a little road above Sutro Baths, where an old car barn had once stood, and worked our way over the cliffs and stood high above Land's End. It was exhilarating.
Penny for your thoughts, Candy.
Inflation is still here.
All right, make it 2 pennies.
Well, I was just thinking, Mallard, dear, when you see a star in the sky, soft water below, feel Christmas in the air, how can there be violence in the world?
An age-old question, pal. One I can't answer. I'm too small. Hey, you're cold. I better put my arm around you.
Mallard, no.
What's the matter?
The headlights from that automobile are shining right down on us, and we... Mallard.
Sandy, what's wrong?
Got your flashlight with you?
Sure. Also my gun and my handcuffs. Anything else we need? A mortar, maybe?
The lights from that car. They shone on something. Down there, under that tree.
Oh, Candy, just for once, can't you stop digging up a mystery? Be human?
I am being human. Come on, Mallard. I want to see what's under that tree. We scrambled around through the brush, slipped into some sliding sand, and rode the crest down to the tree. It wasn't easy to get around some of those brambles, but get there I fully intended doing because what I saw was red, bright red.
You okay, Candy?
Nothing that a new pair of nylons won't fix. Shoot the flashlight over this way a bit. Now, there. That's it. Now, do you think I'm dreaming things up?
What is it?
Wait till I hold it up.
Wow. Looks like some kind of a costume.
Right. And look. If those aren't bloodstains, I'm a Labrador retriever.
No, you're Candy Matson. Those are bloodstains.
How was your boy dressed when you found him?
Torn slacks, sweater, shoes, no socks.
This was most likely his costume, then.
Yeah. Don't move around too much, Candy. I want to have a good look at the ground.
Hey, what are you doing down there?
Who's that?
The police. Now get up here and don't try any tricks.
That's all right, officer. This is Inspector Mallard. Homicide.
Oh, sorry, Inspector.
That's all right. Stay right where you are. We'll be right up. Now, this is a break, Candy. I want you to drive me to a phone. I'll leave the officer here to guard the place. You can go home. I've got work to do here, okay?
Yeah, sure. For once we had dinner before you had a chance to break the date. This baby was hard to reconstruct. Was the guy knocked off out there at Land's End, or was he bumped off at his apartment, the killer driving way out to the beach and hiding the costume? Only time would tell. I went home, climbed into bed, and logged about 8 hours, enough to give me fuel for the next day. In the morning, I went down to the brownstone. The shoppers were already swarming through the place. I spotted a floor walker and strolled over to him. Pardon me, sir. I said, pardon me, sir.
I'm very busy, young lady. Make it as brief as possible.
You do work here, don't you?
Of course.
You are the floor walker assigned to this section?
That is correct. Come to the point, please.
Well, I've a good mind to report you.
As you wish. As I said, I'm very busy. Now, what is it you wanted to know?
The words are like gall in my mouth now, but where do I find Jack Frost?
Right over there, in the back, 2 aisles over.
Thank you.
Not at all.
Very much. All the high-handed characters. People like that make me steam. I was getting up a full head of dander, but it simmered out before I had a chance to boil over. Because as I rounded a corner, I saw Frosty Boy, or Rembrandt, if you choose, up on his platform with the cutest little blonde kid sitting in his lap.
Well, well, well. Look who we have here. A great big boy. Hello there, son.
Hello, Jack Frost.
What is your name?
Topper.
Topper. My, what a fine name. How old are you, Topper?
5.5.
5.5. Well, you must go to school, Topper. Which one?
Garfield.
Garfield. That's a good school. Now, tell me, what would you like to have me tell Santa Claus to bring you for Christmas, Topper?
An electric train and a baseball bat, and I like to be in the seals for Lefty O'Doul.
Well, I'll see what I can do to arrange that, Topper. I'll tell Santa Claus. Bye now.
Goodbye, and thank you, and Merry Christmas.
I hope you can make the boy's wish come true. O'Doul could use him.
Candy, I'm so glad you're here, Doug. Duck around into the back room for a moment. I've got to talk to you.
Aren't you working, Frosty Boy?
I got 10 minutes off every hour. I'll take the break now. Right around there, Candy.
Okay. I'll see you in a moment. What's the matter, Rembrandt? Even under those icicles, you look warm under the collar.
Here, look at this. Every now and then, one of these moppets toddles up to me with a Christmas letter in its hand. A little red-headed girl handed me this about half an hour ago. I've been shaking ever since.
Let me see. Dear Jack Frost, a word to the wise is sufficient. When you take your lunch hour, keep on going. Don't come back. Otherwise, you'll meet the same fate as your predecessor. Just about what I expected.
Candy, you mean to say that you're deliberately using me as a sacrificial lamb?
By no means, Ducky. Go ahead, take your lunch. Then do as the note says. Keep on going. As a matter of fact, why don't you take off now? I'll meet you at your place in about an hour.
That's the best news I've heard since Nelson's victory at Trafalgar.
I whipped upstairs, reported to Prentice Burke, got my first day's check, and on my way out told his secretary she'd better get Burke some smelling salts. Then I went back down on the floor again. Sure enough, there was my boy, the floor walker. I wanted to have a few more words with him.
Oh, you again.
If you don't mind. I was just up to see Miss Myra Fisher. She wasn't in. Have you seen her down here?
No, and what's more, I won't see her all day. She phoned saying she was feeling ill. Most inconsiderate, I must say, during the holiday rush.
Yes, I must. Could you give me her address? She's a friend of mine. I've got to see her.
Her address? Well, yes. Write it down here on one of my cards for you. Myra Fisher, 227F, Union Street. There.
Thank you. You're so kind. I had all the ammunition I wanted. A check signed by Burke and a card written by the floor walker. His name was Simon Liggett. With that, I ducked into a phone booth and called Mallard.
Homicide, Mallard speaking.
Good boy. This is Candy. What did you find out at Land's End last night?
A couple of very juicy footprints. They give us nothing.
Did you make any casts of them?
Why, sure.
Mind if I borrow a couple of them for a few hours, Mallard?
Well, I don't see how it'll hurt. Sure, okay.
Thanks, Mallard, dear. I'll be by in a moment. And, I want to borrow you, too. I stopped by the Hall of Justice, got the cast of the footprints, shoved Mallard into the car, and then picked up Rembrandt. The thing was only a hunch, but my hunches have paid off, so I never ignore them. First, we went out to an address on 5th Avenue near Clement. We got in the back door and went to work. Nothing made sense there. So we drove over to Reseda Way in the marina. Again, we got in and did some sleuthing. This time, we hit the jackpot. A pair of shoes in the closet matched the casts we had brought with us. Rembrandt, go out in the kitchen and see if this place has any ketchup.
I'm not hungry, Dub. Oh, look. What are you up to, Candy? We've got enough to swing a case here.
I'm working for a voluntary confession, Mallard. Tell me, what was the position that the Jack Frost was in when you found him dead?
In a chair, like that one. His head slumped down on his chest.
Good.
Here's the concert, Dove. When are you putting it on?
You.
What?
Without the bun or relish, Ducky. Sit down there, will you, Rembrandt? Now, just go limp and let your head hang down. That's it. Now for a little seasoning.
Oh, Candy, you're smearing me with this sticky stuff.
All for the sake of art. Hold still. There. How does he look, Mallard?
Why, Candy, it looks like the same guy, the real thing.
Good. Now, Rembrandt, you just sit like that. Don't move. Mallard, you duck into that closet over there, and I'll hide in here. We've got a good view of the front door from both places. Okay?
Okay. There are times, Candy, when I admit I admire your genius.
Genius. Come on, let's hide. The golden shafts of sun splashing in through the window from the ocean slowly turned pink, then purple, and into twilight. The minutes ticked on. Once... Bless you, but quiet, though, Rembrandt. You'll muss up your ketchup. 5 minutes. 10. Then we heard muffled footsteps coming down the hall and a key inserted in the lock of the apartment door.
Oh, no. It can't be. The old fool I killed. No. Okay, buddy, that'll be about enough. Oh, no.
Get him, Mallard. He's ducking.
I'll get him.
Nice tackle, Mallard.
All right, Mac. You're going to remain peaceful, or do I have to give you a little tap?
No. I'll be quiet. You cut me. I did it. I did it to both of them. I killed them. I killed them. I killed both of them.
Both of them?
Yeah. Look behind the sofa. The sofa. The girl. Jack Frost. The sofa.
The sofa? Wait a minute, Mallard.
I had to do it. I couldn't.
Oh.
But then they were going to do it.
Oh, Mallard.
More trouble, Candy?
I killed both of them. I'm glad I did.
Yes. An old friend of mine. The late Myra Fisher. The whole thing was jealousy. Not the jealousy of a man for a woman, but the jealousy of a man for a job. Simon Liggett had been with the Brownstone for almost 20 years. He'd worked himself up from the stock boy to a place where he'd been promised the job of head of advertising and promotion. He almost got it, except at the last moment, Prentice Burke gave the position to Myra Fisher. That had only been 2 weeks before. He knew that Myra was on a probationary term, so he did everything he could to undermine her. Little things like changing ad copy, sending out false stories to newspapers. He figured that if he could keep the store without a Santa Claus helper, he'd break Myra's back and get the job by the first of the year. He paid a visit to the first Jack Frost and tried to bribe him into quitting, but the guy would have none of it. There was a struggle. Liggett lost his head and whipped out a gun and shot him. He was still in his costume, so Liggett stripped him, put some old clothes on him, drove out to Land's End, and ditched his costume. Then he felt sure there would be no Jack Frost the next day. But that's when Myra met me, and I talked Rembrandt into taking over. By this time, Liggett was in a frenzy and would stop at nothing. He trailed Myra and Burke to Myra's home, killed her, took her body over to his place, and ditched it behind the sofa. The next morning, he wrote a note to Rembrandt and gave it to one of the little girls waiting in line to see him. Fear and envy were taking their toll on the poor guy's mind. I wanted to compare the handwriting, so I had Burke write me a check and Liggett write Myra's address on a card. Also, we had the footprint cast. Between the two, everything pointed toward Liggett. That's when I staged my little parlor charade with Rembrandt playing the part of a corpse. The sight, with Rembrandt's resemblance to the dead Jack Frost, would shatter anybody into a confession. But Christmas, in spite of everything, is a lovely time of year. And there is a Santa Claus. 3 of them for me, as a matter of fact. Mr. Prentice Burke, who sent me a very nice check for my efforts. Rembrandt Watson, who, out of sheer love for the job, went back to playing Jack Frost for all the kids at the brownstone. And last but not least, Inspector Ray Mallard. He gave me a Christmas sock, right on my mouth, just where any well-placed Christmas sock should go.
Listen again next week at this same time. For excitement and adventure, just dial
Candy Matson, and a Merry Christmas to you all. Yukon 28209.
Heard tonight were Helen Cleve as Myra Fisher, Lou Tobin as Prentice Burke, and John Grover as Simon Liggett. Jack Thomas plays the role of Rembrandt Watson, and Henry Leff is heard as Inspector Mallard. The program stars Natalie Masters as Candy and is written and produced by Monty Masters. Sound effects were created by Bill Brownell and Jay Rendon. Eloise Rowan is heard at the organ. The characters in tonight's story are entirely fictitious, with the exception of the part of Topper, which was played by himself. Any resemblance to actual people is purely coincidental. The program came to you from San Francisco. Dudley Manlove speaking. You are tuned for the stars on NBC.